Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. This is the November the 1st, 2020, and welcome to the hour that doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is that everybody's clock turns back. And so there's going to be an hour that just disappears. You get an extra hour. You set your clocks back. Anyway, I greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will be able to resist the chaos that is all around us on such high levels that many folks are saying it has never been like this before. And so this particular discussion tonight is going to deal partially with a little bit of politics, but it's necessary, and but I promise you I'm going to keep it to a minimum. But it needs to be said because some of this chaos is what's affecting our spirituality. And in having conversations with some people recently, I noticed that one of the main things that seemed to be bothering some folk, and I get it because I have been there. And what I'm talking about in this particular instance is the fact that there are folks who have this understanding, a basic understanding of spirituality, but they're uncertain about it. Well, I read something the other day, and I heard about this channel over here, and they got some really good ideas. And these folks over here, they got some. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, except for some of those folks are pumping some really false information, and we need to be very careful. If the word Satan comes up in their conversation, like it's a good thing, then use your own personal judgment and remove yourself from that. But anyway, so one of the things that I've noticed though is that people have a good idea of what their spirituality is, but my thinking on this, and I've been asking for some, I'm always asking for guidance to see if some folks might, they say, well, I'm on the fence about certain things, and it's like, I don't think so. I don't think some of these folks are on the fence at all. I think what's going on is that they're seeing another point of view, and they're like, well, I can see something about that, but I don't really understand it. And that could be, they're trying to keep their minds open, but at the same time, it confuses what they already know. So with that said, we have to take into consideration that maybe what we understand internally, within our own spirit, within our own soul, within our gut, that we pretty much already know. And so, for example, simply speaking, if you want to work for the light side or the dark side, have you made up your mind on that? And people go, well, yeah, I want to work for the light. Okay, then you've already made a spiritual choice. Those folks are like still want to go into spell casting and sigils and all kinds of other magical things. They haven't made a decision yet, although they're leaning towards the opposite side. Now, of course, that's my personal and humble opinion. They might not see it as that. Well, it's not darkness, so I cast a spell. For what? Why do you feel like you have to have that kind of power in the universe? What gives you the right to be the one that makes that decision that says, I'm all powerful, so I'm going to do some kind of spell to change things? You can change things by your own actions, by your own positive reinforcement with other people, but to try to do something against the will of another or using, that's just against the rules of the universe, so to speak, if you're working for the light. Hi, Chloe. How are you? Let me put on my glasses. Can't stay tonight, but wanted to come and say I love you and miss you all very much. I'm so grateful for you, Hawkeye, and the rest of our beautiful soul tribe. Thank you, Chloe. I hope you're safe. Stay safe, you know. And I'm going to try to not make this too long. I have been accused too many times here recently of rambling, and I can I can vouch for that, you know. But there are times when people come in at the hour mark, and I kind of go back over things, and it may seem to somebody that I'm just indefinitely rambling, and I try to keep that to a minimum. So my apologies ahead of time. But Chloe, I continue to, you know, pray and hope that everything's the best for you. But anyway, so with this certainty of the spirit, so there are a lot of folks who are like just scrambling for some more. My ramblings are great. Well, you know, not everybody appreciates it, but to the point, you know, as a wise man once said, you can't please everybody. So I just do the best I can, and some days are a little bit more, you know, focused than others. But anyway, I do the best I can. And y'all know that I just love to run my dadgum mouse. Hey, Candy Apple, how are you? Blessings on it's no longer Halloween. So we can all holler ween and get away with it. So I waited until after 12 o'clock because I just didn't want to be a part of any of that energy, even though one could say, well, you know, you're still, anyway. But in this certainty of spirit, so we need to take sort of an appraisal of where we are spiritually. Just real simple, not complicated. But, you know, do you believe in goodness and helping folks? Okay, yes. Do you feel that, you know, doing harm to others in any way is like against the rules? Yeah. Okay. Do you believe that nature and all these things together, that we're all connected? Yep. Okay. So do you believe, you know, so with those three answers right there, and if you're sure, but now, do you believe that, you know, that let me phrase this right. Do you believe that spells and sigils are unnecessary for your spiritual fulfillment? Now, there is a lot of argument there, but to the point though, if you understand this little fine point, then you've moved beyond needing a 3D type of invention, if you will, to help you fulfill it. Now, I do card readings and stuff, but that's just asking, you know, the spirits to, you know, help us out. It's not necessarily to prophesy anything, but to warn us all on our spiritual journey. And by many of the cards that I've pulled, I've freaked myself out about how accurate they were for the topic. So with that said, though, you know, not all 3D objects are, you know, like, you know, ooh, stay away from them. No, it's your intent, you know. So I've known people that have had tarot cards, and that it just seemed like there was something attached to them. And not that they wanted to be, but it just seemed like, you know, something's wrong here. But then I know other people who've done card readings, and they just seem to be, you know, there's nothing malevolent following them around or anything. It's hard to explain, but so I absolutely believe it is the intent of the person. Now, with that said, something like tarot, more than reading animal cards, are such that because you're delving into a different area than just the animal cards, there is there is more of a situation that an entity could interfere, like a Ouija board. You know, we used to play with them things as a kid, you know, and some of the crap, and it's like I was really good at it. Now I realize, well, you know, quote, playing with the Ouija board back in the day, it was like everybody had one, you know. Oh my God, what, you know, what connections or what could have happened back then as kids that we weren't even aware of. And we did some things as children growing up in the 60s with, you know, supernatural stuff as much as we knew and could do back in the day. And kind of freaked us out back in the day with some of the stuff that we did. And I've kind of kept that in the back of my head all these years. But anyway, but I realized that none of that is necessary when you are certain of your spirituality. So to stay on track with that, there are people who can answer these questions. And here's the thing. So my question back to them, sort of rhetorical, is, are you sure? And they go, well, yeah, I'm certain of it. Then why are you hem-hawing around about your spirituality? Well, Hawkeye, what do you mean? Well, you're worried about particulars when the big thing is what really matters. You know, you working for the light or the dark? The light. That's a big answer, you know. And do you realize, you know, that the rule, the one rule of the universe, to do no harm? Do you understand, you know, at least grasp basically what it means to do no harm? Well, yeah, I do. Do you ascribe to that, you know, versus any 10 commandments? There's only one, and that's to do no harm, because all the other commandments fall under that one rule, except for, you know, there is only one God, and thou shalt only believe in one God, blah. That one is, they should kick that one out. But anyway, so our spirituality a lot of times is based around a religion. Now, I've studied them all, you know. Well, I say them all. I've studied a good many of them. And anytime I hear of like a new religion, I want to go see what it's about. What are these folks, you know, studying? What are they praying about? Blah, blah, you know. Oh, okay. So I learned the basics and say, well, you know, mostly they want to do good, and mostly they want to not harm, and mostly okay, I don't necessarily need to study anymore because I understand the basics. And whether or not they're doing prayers or clanging bells or gongs or lighting candles or whatever it is, their basic fundamental belief of that quote religion, of whatever they're studying, they're certain of that. In other words, they feel connected to their God, however that is. So, you know, we could say, well, the Hindu gods and this, that. Calm down a little bit. You know, yeah, there were a bunch of them. Yeah, well, this one was for this one. Well, you know, and Shiva, she was the destroyer, and this and that. Oh, calm down. There are lots of good spirits, a lot of good gods, if you will. But in the basics of things, though, now I have issues with some of the Hindu religions, so I'm not even going to go there. But the Buddhist type of thought is that, you know, we attain these things through our own self-reflection. And I mean, even Jesus said that you'll find the answer within. You know, you can go all these other places you want to, and going to different places, I think, is a good thing, because it gives you a different point of view. When I went out west and up around Mount Rainier and all, I'm seeing that versus a picture, and being there and throwing snowballs on July the 4th was just like, oh my God. And so down here, that just is, there is no reality in that, you know, but other places that is a reality. So you realize, wait a minute, there are folks that are down in the desert. That's their reality. There are folks in Florida where I grew up. That's their reality. Folks in South Georgia, we got our own, you know, etc. So, but with that can also be attached our spirituality, because, you know, if you're down here in the deep South, not many Catholics, much more Methodists and Lutherans and Episcopalians, a lot of Baptists, you know, a lot of Baptists and Methodists. So, but you know, they got a tiny little Catholic church over here and a great big huge monstrosity of a building for the Methodists. But anyway, so religion is a big business. And so, but does religion give you spirituality? So the time that I spent in the Catholic Church and seeking other religions, because I thought at my answer was going to be within a religion, and then I realized no, it had my spirituality has to do with all religions. What's in common with them? So by finding that out for myself, even though nobody else, basically thinks Native Americans do, and the shaman folks that I've met. And there are folks out there who are saying, making the claim that I claim to be a shaman. I don't. I am a shaman in training. I'm trying to understand it, just like anybody else. Okay. Now there are some people who would say, because I'm getting old and decrepit, at 68 years old, I've got a few years on some other folks, and that's only through practice and wisdom. I made a crap load of mistakes. And it's through my mistakes I wish to try to keep you all from making similar ones, or saying, hey, you made a mistake, get over it, let's move on. But in the spiritual certainty of things, there are some folks that they're wavering because there isn't a religion, in my humble opinion, there isn't a religion to attach that spiritualness to. So people will ask you, say, well, if you're a Baptist, then you're spiritual. You know where you, Jesus Christ is my Savior, and okay, we know where you stand. But for those of us who think that Jesus was, he was all that, but there were other people and other years and centuries and millennia before and will be afterwards. And so, we think of it a little bit, a little bit higher sense from some other people. Not to say that they're wrong, but, my opinion of that is just it includes much more than they've been able to receive up to this point, or whether or not they're able to understand it or believe it. And so, which is going to bring me to the political topic I wanted to bring up about the Archbishop that wrote the letter to President Trump stating the deep state, the deep church, and the deep state, and how they're working for the New World Order. I've talked about this, and how the Vatican and so forth. So there are sections of what I wish to read to you here after I get off of this, but it relates to our spiritual certainty. And you should have faith in that certainty. So again, you ask 4 or 5 just basic questions. You believe in, the no harm rule? Yep, working on it. Do you believe in, yeah, and it has nothing to do with churches or any beliefs. Do you believe in spiritual? Do you believe in the idea of spiritualness, at least in and of itself? Well, y'all wouldn't be hanging out here with me if you didn't understand or want to believe some of it anyway. Do you believe you're part of the universe? And not just, so this spiritualness is already there. It's just not attached to any particular religion. But in and of itself, it is a faith. It is a certainty. You know that you wish to do no harm. No matter what anybody says. Now, it may come to the fact that if your family is being harmed or whatever, and you might have to defend your territory or yourself, different, okay? You may have to do harm for your own, for protecting your family and so forth. So with that said, though, are there exceptions? Yeah. If I'm being attacked, I'm going to defend myself. That because mostly that's a natural thing. And at some previous life, I was a warrior. So I'm gonna go kicking and screaming. But at the same time, I also realize there are times when kicking and screaming is only going to get you killed. And if dying is what is your intention, now I'm old enough that I'm like, okay, if it happens, well then, all right. Don't want it to, but I'm okay with it now. But it's a certainty. So each one of you can go through your own little list, but it still boils down to those basic few good things. Because if you believe anything else, then you're being wishy-washy about it. Well, do you think that a spell is going to help you to attain enlightenment? Well, I don't know. It's going to help me in this world to achieve the power, and you have to understand the darkness to see the light. Oh, really? Seriously? Okay. So the idea, though, that are you certain of that? Or are you still a fledgling? Well, I'm on the fence about it. Are you? Have you been practicing, casting spells? Well, no, I don't really think that's a thing for me. Then you're not on the fence about it, right? Well, I've thought about it and it's interesting. There's nothing wrong with being interested in it, but do you really wish to pursue that? No, not really. No. Well, then you've made a decision. You see, you have to ask yourself that question. Am I certain about this? Now, there's a lot of stuff that I'm curious about, but I'm still certain of my own spirituality, having nothing to do with religion. So we have to be able to say, well, wait a minute. So, Hawkeye, you're giving me this line here. Now, what the F do you mean by this? Well, because if you're feeling wishy-washy with all the chaoses going on, and I'm going to come to the Catholic thing here in a minute. Okay, 2 minutes. Hi, everybody. Michelle, son, let me say hi to everybody. 20 minutes into this. And for those who think I'm rambling, okay, and I've stated a good bit here in this first 20 minutes, that if you're not aware of it, then you should please stop and think about it. Listen to the silence, because if you're worried about whether or not you're on the right track, if you have this core value, you always hear me yakking about, if you have this core value of goodness, we can all slip off a little bit, But, if somebody said, well, Hawkeye, am I going to go out and commit murder? I don't think so. I might have to defend myself, but I don't see that, am I going to go out and hurt anybody? Well, not on purpose. If somebody's in trouble or something, I might have to, forcibly, restrict someone, or if somebody's being attacked or something. And I decide to join in and try to help this person out. Do I plan on it? No, but like I told that story before, and I'm coming up on another, anniversary of the time I went to town, and on the way home, we found that man who had his leg cut off in an accident. And we were there to stabilize him and help him out until the ambulance got there. And so had I intended on going home that night and, holding a bloody stump of a man in my hands, who had lost his leg in the accident? No. So, but, after that incident, I kind of sort of feel like I'm prepared for any damn thing up to a point. So, and there is a certainty in that, like when looking, and I held and we did this, and so if it happens again, I know I already am certain that one way or the other, I think I could handle it, because I've already handled a serious situation before. So in that certainty, there is a confidence. And the confidence, I don't have to go around waving, well, I can save everybody's life. No, I'm not a doctor or an EMT, but I know enough to save someone's life in a critical situation. Now, it might be something else, and they could have had a stomach injury, everything. It could have been a lot different, a lot worse. But the idea, though, that there were those folks who came up way after it was over, and just at the side of the truck and everything, they were like getting sick and throwing up. They didn't even see him or what we had to do. But so in that, I have a confidence. And I tell you this not to brag about it, but it's because I know I don't want this to happen again. But if it does, I can handle it. So spiritually, I'm also certain in that, as bad as it might be, I'm holding a bloody stump. I got to do with this. I got to do with that. It's really gross, but spiritually, I'm going to hold it together because my goal, my purpose here on this planet this time around is to help others and to be there when needed, when necessary. That is my certainty. So whether I ramble on too much or not, but to the point though, um, I'm certain that at some point they need me to talk about a subject and to help other folks to understand it on their own. A good friend of mine had asked me a question. She goes, does anybody really get anything out of this? You ramble on for hours sometimes. Does anybody get anything about this? And I said, well, at 4 in the morning when there's 12 or 15 of you on, I guess it must mean something because you all are hanging out with me. So, and I know sometimes it's just because we're all together, that's part of the hangout. But if there's something in there that I can communicate with you and help you to understand on your own, then I guess it's worthwhile for me to do a 3-hour video. So, but it's not for everybody. And I get that. So, but anyway, in the certainty of things. So with all this chaos and everybody trying to tell you how you should think, what you should do is look over how you actually feel. Well, I feel this way about this. Okay. So does that affect the way you think? Yeah. Now here's the thing. In the chaos, they want us to become emotionally attached to these things. They want us to scream and holler and kick the dirt. Well, it's acceptable 5 minutes. That's the rule. It's a 5-minute rule. Kick the dirt, cuss, scream, holler for 5 minutes, and then drop it. Okay. Because that's the human factor. So go ahead and be human. It's just don't do it every 5 minutes. But in that, let me say hi to everybody. Michelle, how are you? Mary Wins, it's good to see you. Teresa, as always. Michelle, Teresa, let's see. Missed somebody. Back up. Hi, iStation. Hangouts is akin to gifts of the Magi. Thank you, Zed. Sun, Mary Wins, Chloe. If you're gone, I know she couldn't stay. We still love you. Everybody say ween because it's the day after and we can. So the one day I was like, no, I didn't want to participate in that at all. Candy Apple, hi, how are you? Okay, I think I got to everybody. If I missed somebody, I missed you. Okay, not on purpose. But anyway, so now let me go to this letter. First of all, have y'all posted on Discord? Have any of you seen or heard the letter the Archbishop wrote to the president? Teresa, is that what you posted on Discord and Facebook? No. Okay. I came across this Naughty Beaver's channel. Okay, Michelle, Teresa, you being an ex-Catholic, did it floor you? Wasn't there some things in there that you and I had discussed? Like what? Anyway. Oh, my show. Gotcha. Okay, so yeah. Now I have, for those of you who've been on my channel for a while, God bless you. I've talked about Sister Helene and the things that she told me about the Vatican and stuff that I learned back in 1970. And so I was thinking earlier today, now, is that me being, a prophet or just somebody who is astute at looking at the information? Well, in a way, I have been a prophet because I have discussed that one of these days it's going to come out, and here we are. And so, and it's been coming out, and I've been warning people. And guess what? Not just me. Okay. So I believe that I have been connected to this collectiveness of the Vatican, if you will, in that there are so many lies and deceit and so forth in that. And that every time, you know, when the Pope came out with everybody throw away your Catholic Bibles and buy the new one, I was like, no, 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 no. My old Catholic Bible actually, it wasn't mine, but I held it for someone for 35 years. But anyway, in that old Catholic Bible, I regained my own faith. So it's like, wait a minute, you want to, I read some of the new Bible and I was like, you want to take the old Douay-Rheims version of the Bible, which is what uh, King, what's his name, you know, the KJV version, King James. The idea that he took his version from that old version of the Catholic Bible, the Douay-Rheims, as it's called. And so and that was the least amount of tampering up to that time with the Bible. But since then, since 1964 about, and around the time of Vatican II, there was a lot of schisms and stuff going on. And that's when in the Catholic Church, they went from, you know, doing the thing away from the people, and they turned the altar around and did it in front of everybody. A lot of folks, there was our pastor at Most Holy Redeemer Church, quit the church and ran off with one of the nuns from Most Holy Redeemer who taught special ed, Father Lenahan, and wonderful man, and was sad to see him leave the church, but so did a lot of other of us. So it wasn't just people like me, it was clergy. There was a priest who I met, you know, we smoked a joint walking along the beach there on the Tampa Beach back in the day on the Courtney Campbell Causeway. And was there, I was stoned out of my gourd. I was high on some acid and met this, you know, this priest. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but from Tampa Catholic. And we're walking along the beach and all. He's like, I just don't agree with this new Catholic stuff. And we were having a religious discussion, and he was having this religious thing about, you know, I became a priest because I wanted to do this and that and the spiritual thing, you know. So anyway, so this has been going on for a long time. Now, let me just give a little bit of information here about this too. There are a lot of people who, and I thought so too for a long time, the Jesuits are not Roman Catholics. Okay. And a lot of people say, well, the Jesuits, they're cutting. No. The Roman Catholics threw the Jesuits out years ago, long time ago. And guess who is he's not the official Pope now. He is the Black Pope. He's actually the mayor of the Vatican. Okay. And in that, because the other Pope, Ratzinger or whatever, is still alive. So you say, well, what has this got to do in the spiritual nonsense? It's proof of what this man is saying. Because if you understand what the church and everything has been doing, and this has to do with our spirituality, because even the Baptist and the Methodist and they all report at some point to the Vatican. It's all tied in with this spiritualness of religion. So why are people getting away from religion? Because the religion, not the spiritual part of it now, but the religion has been lying to us. So let me read excerpts of this thing because I think it's important that we understand, okay? The mayor, yep. Controller's religion, yeah. There was a paper that I saw years ago when I was into the studying about the Jesuits and this and that. And I mean, I went to Tampa Catholic, and our rival in Tampa was Jesuit High School. And I was rejected as I tried to get into Jesuit, and I'm really glad I didn't now, and that I am a graduate of Tampa Catholic. But anyway, so I've got this pulled up. I would share it with you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to this article in the chat. Okay, so you can look at it yourself. And let's see. It's Control C. Because I do think it's important that we understand that here's this archbishop that's, you know, has been part of the Vatican and so forth, is telling you some stuff. All right, there's the link that I'm reading from. Okay. So, and some of these, Mr. President, et cetera, I may skip over some of this, but I'm not going to skip over the important stuff. Okay. Now, this is back in June 7th of 2020. Okay. So this isn't even recent. And it's the Holy Trinity Sunday, and it's written by, anyway, that Archbishop. I can't remember. I can't pronounce his name. In recent months, we have been witnessing the formation of two opposing sides that I would call biblical: the children of light and the children of darkness. The children of light constitute the most conspicuous part of humanity, while the children of darkness represent an absolute minority. And yet the former, the minority, are the object of a sort of discrimination which places them in a situation of moral inferiority with respect to their adversaries, who often hold strategic positions in government, in politics, in the economy, and in the media. In an apparently inexplicable way, the good are held hostage by the wicked and by those who help them either out of self-interest or fearfulness. Now, there are a lot of people who go along with this out of fear, and you can't blame them for that now. These two sides, of which have a biblical nature, follow the clear separation between the offspring of the woman and the offspring of the serpent. Now, I'm going to break from the discussion here for a second. And if any of you have done any research about the Vatican, you'll know that they've got this really creepy background in there, and it looks like a serpent, and the way it's laid out. So serpent in this instance has a lot of meaning that we may not just absolutely see at first glance. But there several years ago, where there was this great big wooden thing, something that they put in the Vatican, ugly monstrosity, you know, and the Pope sits in front of it. Anyway, that's part of what we're talking about here. So going back to the text, on one hand, there are those who, although they have 1,000 defects and weaknesses, they are motivated by the desire to do good, to be honest, to raise a family, to engage in work, to give prosperity to their homeland, to help the needy, and in obedience to the law of God, to merit the kingdom of heaven. On the other hand, there are those who serve themselves, who do not hold any moral principles, who want to demolish the family and the nation, exploit workers to make themselves unduly wealthy, foment internal divisions and wars, accumulate power and money. For them, the fallacious illusion of temporal well-being will one day, if they do not repent, yield to the terrible fate that awaits them far from God in eternal damnation. All right, well, of course he's going to have that Catholic side of it. In society, Mr. President, these two opposing realities as eternal enemies, just as God and Satan are eternal enemies. And it appears that the children of darkness, whom we may easily identify with the deep state, which you wisely oppose and which is fiercely waging a war against you in these days, have decided to show their cards, so to speak, by now revealing their plans. They seem to be so certain of already having everything under control that they have laid aside that circumspection that until now had at least partially concealed their true intentions. Now, this was June the 7th of this year. The investigations already underway will reveal the true responsibility of those who managed the COVID emergency, not only in the area of healthcare, but also in politics, the economy, and the media. We will probably find that in this colossal operation of social engineering, there are people who have decided the fate of humanity, arrogating themselves to the right to act against the will of the citizens and their representatives in the governments of nations. We will also discover that the riots in these days were provoked by who, seeing that the virus is inevitably fading and that the social alarm of the pandemic is waning, necessarily have had to provoke civil disturbances because they would be allowed by repression, which, although legitimate, could be condemned as an unjustified aggression against the population. The same thing is also happening in Europe. And just today, one of those guys over there said, England's locked down. It is quite clear that the use of street protests is instrumental to the purposes of those who would like to see someone elected in the upcoming presidential elections who embodies the goals of the deep state and who expresses these goals faithfully and with conviction. It will not be surprising if in the next few months we learn once again that hidden behind these acts of vandalism and violence, there are those who would hope to profit from the dissolution of the social order so as to build a world without freedom, as the Masonic adage teaches. Now, this archbishop, he ain't pulling no punches. Now, in an update, it's not in this one, but he mentions Bill Gates, he mentions the Pope, he mentions other archbishops, and he lays it out that these folks are part of not only the deep state, but part of the deep church. Okay. Although it may seem disconcerting, the opposing alliance I have described are also found in religious circles. There are faithful shepherds who care for the flock of Christ, but there are also mercenary infidels, Jesuit. I'm saying Jesuits now, because they've been the black hats through all of, since the church existed. They're the CIA, the really bad covert ops guys. But anyway, it is not surprising that these mercenaries are allies of the children of darkness and hate the children of light. Just as there is a deep state, there is also a deep church that betrays its duties and forswears its proper commitment before God. Thus, the invisible enemy, whom good rulers fight against in public affairs, is also fought against by good shepherds in the ecclesiastical sphere. It is a spiritual battle, which I spoke about in my recent appeal, which was published on May the 8th. For the first time, the United States has you as a president who courageously defends the right to life, who is not ashamed to denounce the persecution of Christians throughout the world. Blah, 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 blah. For this reason, I believe that the attack to which you were subjected after your visit to the National Shrine of St. John Paul II is part of the orchestrated media narrative which seeks not to fight racism and bring social order, but to aggravate dispositions, not to bring justice, but to legitimize violence and crime, not to serve the truth, but to favor one political faction. And it is disconcerting that there are bishops, such as those whom I recently denounced, who, by their words, proved that they are aligned on the opposing side. They are subservient to the deep state, to globalism, to aligned thought, to the new world order, which they invoke ever more frequently in the name of a universal brotherhood, which has nothing Christian about it, but which evokes the Masonic ideals of those who want to dominate the world by driving God out of the courts, out of schools, out of families, and perhaps even out of churches. The American people are mature and now have an understanding how much the mainstream media does not want to spread the truth, but seeks to silence and distort it, spreading the lie that is useful for the purpose of their masters. However, it is important that the good, who are the majority, wake up from their sluggishness and do not accept being deceived by a minority of dishonest people with unavowable purposes. It is necessary that the good, the children of the light, come together and make their voices heard. What more effective way is there to do this, Mr. President, than by prayer, asking the Lord to protect you, the United States, and all of humanity from this enormous attack of the enemy? Before the power of prayer, the deception of the children of darkness will collapse. Their plots will be revealed. Their betrayal will be shown. Their frightening power will end in nothing, brought to light and exposed for what it is, an infernal deception. Carlo Mario Vigano is his name, and he's Archbishop. He's the former apostolic nuncio to the United States of America. So, but anyway, now that's not his recent one, okay? But in that letter, has he spelled it out? Now, recently, the one that Naughty Beaver did, it's a more recent video letter thing that he reads. And then that he's naming Bill Gates and all these other people as being the deep state, as being enemies of, collaborators, and that we should not trust these people. And so, God, I even hate to use the word Pope, but it's already been distorted. So the idea, though, that, El Popo, and being a Jesuit, that's just like out of the question. He should not be there at all. But in that, these truths are being revealed. So in this letter that I just read, a good portion of it, on June the 7th, so that's a couple of months ago. So he's already warned the president from a good shepherd of the church, because he's in his letter, he's stating those good things. People who want to be good moral people, okay, they've had their ups and downs and snags in here, but they're still working for their family. They're still working for this. That's the point. If what you are basically doing is good, you're trying, now there are those people who say, well, I'm really trying, when actually, no, they, every weekend they fall off the wagon. Well, I'm trying. No, you're not. But anyway, we still give you hope. So with this obvious admission by a high Vatican official, and someone who was also attached with the United States as being, an emissary from the church here, to be able to bring these things out and spell them out, not mince any words. These people are after us. And the majority are good folks led by these, So where do we stand with our own spirituality? So there are high muckety mucks, and there are people who've had their world really shaken up by what this, this archbishop has stated back then and now again. So he's doubling down with his admission of pointing these people out from a clerical standpoint. So it's like, well, do you trust the Pope? We don't. You know, what? Yeah, we don't trust the Pope. We didn't elect him. He was brought in by this dark state of within the Catholic Church. There are those of us within the church, just like you and me as Americans here. We're tired of these few people ruling the many of us. Well, there are those within the Catholic Church and other religions too, that are like, no, this is not what I signed up for. And either out of fear, of course, there are people who are like, well, you give me a little kickback, me and the family can go on vacation, I've heard of, there are some folks that I know down in Thomasville, and they're like, well, we had to cut our vacation short this year. Oh, really? Yeah, we could only go to Belize and spend 2 weeks. We were going to spend 3, but, we had to cut our vacation short. Now, for one thing, I've never been to freaking Belize. And and the idea that, well, we had to cut it short. What? So these people were like, oh, well, we had to give something that we had, we couldn't be gone. Oh, my goodness. Oh, what we had to get. Oh, my God, the sacrifices these people have to make. Only 2 weeks in Belize. Okay. When, there are many of us that have never been able to have any such a type of vacation ever in our life. Like you had 2 weeks. Well, why couldn't you, just because you're supposed to be hell-bent on Christianity, hell-bent, why don't you take a week, but then offer what you would have spent for you and your family for the second week and give it to somebody else who's never had a chance to go on a vacation? Take them along with you. Pay all their expenses for the week that you're there. Separate places, but you can hang out if you want. Take somebody that's never been before. Oh, well, no, okay. But these folks are higher muckety mucks they were a few years ago. But anyway, I'm sure that there's still some of these muckety mucks that still exist within the church about how much we have to sacrifice by only having 2 weeks of vacation at some resort, So the idea, though, that in our spiritualness, so here's an archbishop having his say so, basically bitching out other bishops and denouncing the Pope, So it's like, so do you want to trust this guy? So for those of us who've had this understanding that there's been this, big lie going on in the Vatican for a long time, for those of us, it wasn't a big, it was like, oh, good, somebody finally come out. Oh, great, the shock was he was saying it, not what he said. It was that, oh my God, he's actually saying this in a video. Oh, yay, thumbs up, cheers, everybody, So this idea, though, should give you spiritual confidence. Why? Because you do have these things that I named earlier on in the video. You wish to do no harm. You wish to do good things, even though and the Archbishop even said there are those who fall down and have, and they're defective, but they still try. We're human after all. So, and sometimes some people have, more on their plate, things that, are trials and tribulations in their own world. And sometimes it's because we have been mismanaged and so many wrong truths told to us and made to believe. And, like there are some folks who are like, they're Jesuits and they went to Jesuit school. And to think that, wait a minute, that the hierarchy of the Jesuit, or not all, Jesuits, not all priests in that respect. So, and not all priests were, like little kids. And the ones like back when I was going to Most Holy Redeemer, Father McCarthy was our pastor, and Eugene, Father Lenahan was our pastor Father Eugene McCarthy was the pedophile. He was the assistant. One of the reasons why Lenahan left was because of Father McCarthy and what he was doing to the little boys, me and some others, who have come forward after the fact. And so it's like, how can you believe in a church that allows, quote, your fellow priests to get away with this shit, And when he tried to speak up about it, they told him to, buzz off. And so he quit the church. And this is true. So, and I asked Sister Helene back in 1970. We were friends until we stayed friends until after I moved up here, but I lost contact, and then I found out she had passed away. But another friend of mine at Tampa Catholic, he stayed in touch with her, and he had a certain relationship with her, and he was like, how great this nun actually is. In school, people were just terrified of her, but actually she was this really sweet lady. And she put up a really good front, scared the crap out of a bunch of us. And I think some of us might have softened her up a little bit. I was like, because I told her outright, I said, if I had understood why you were picking on me, because you didn't understand that I was being picked on all of the levels and my parents and this and that. And she said, had I known any of that, I would not have picked on you the way I did. But I saw talent in you, and I wanted you to be better. These other people who took my drafting class, they all they knew was lines. You knew how to draw tools. You knew how to draw this and that. You had a talent where they were just there, to get a grade and screw off. You had potential. And later on, I became an engineer, although it was in 3D and AutoCAD, but I still remembered the basics of how to do a layout. And some of these people that do 3D now have never taken a pen and pencil and a straight edge and drawn anything, because they don't see the need. But if that computer breaks and somebody needs a drawing of something, can you give an orthographic view? Anyway, I know I'm wandering here in my discussion. But I asked Sister Helene, I said, listen, if you know these things, why are you still with the church? And she said, because I made my vow to God, not to the church. And she goes, besides, where else am I going to go? So she did what she liked to do. She taught. She was effective. And I think that some of us had an effect on her, because she was like, if I see talent in somebody, maybe I should approach them in a different way rather than this mean, gruff old nun, which she really wasn't. But with that all said, though, she established in me, listen, she looked at me and said, you're already spiritual. And she said, don't become a priest, go study Buddha, because that's what Jesus did. So imagine that in the archives of the, Vatican are some type of things that tell us that Jesus actually did. He went east and studied Eastern religions and things, and then came back. What? Jesus studied Buddha? Many of us already kind of get that. But to those hardcore Christians, Catholics, and everything, it would blow their flipping mind, So, I watched the Da Vinci Code again. I hadn't seen it in quite a few years, and it was on, and I was like, let me watch this. Glad I did, because the references to, Lady Magdalene, and the Last Supper, the picture, and the this and the that, and what was the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail is the bloodline, not a cup or this or that, So the idea, though, there's a lot to be said, because over in Portugal and southern France, the Lady of the Rose, and there are a lot of old traditions. And if we lived over there and that was a part of our lifestyle, we'd get it. But it's across the pond from us. And so we don't have firsthand knowledge of any of that. We don't have the opportunity to go visit some of these places and talk to the people and ancestors upon ancestors upon ancestors that have passed things down. And that's true over there. To us, it's a fantasy. You know what I'm saying? We don't live it. We live it vicariously because we live it through videos and other people's point of view and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, with that, though, there is an uncertainty within our religious spiritualness. Now, for me, okay, does it really matter? Well, did she get away? Did she have children? Was there a bloodline? I believe there probably was. And so the idea that, well, wait a minute, but that's blasphemy, Hawkeye, you know. But so, in a lot of ways, was this archbishop talking about the Pope, Gates, this person, that person, Biden, you know, that he is not afraid to point fingers. But the thing is, for those of us who have been watching this stuff, he named it, there were no surprises. You know, he didn't say, he mentioned Soros and these folks and them folks. And I'm like, okay. But in that, was I surprised by anybody he mentioned? No. But he made it clear from his point of view and from other clergymen, other archbishops. And he was like, I have to, you know, regrettably, there are bishops who keep talking about the New World Order. What has Francis been doing? New World Order. And this is all about the spirituality. And the archbishop clearly stated it ain't got nothing to do with Christianity, but it has everything to do with the Masonics idea of this order. What has that got to do with us? How does this all fit in? This is the recent chaos. But here's the thing, it's also recent truths. We should believe this archbishop. We really should. There are people who are going, this guy's, no, I'm not going to believe what he's saying. No. Okay. Because it's disbelievable to you. I've got 40 some odd years of paying attention to what Sister Helene told me in 1970. Yeah, I keep going back to that point, but it was an important point for me. And I have known all these years, not all the particulars, but there was funniness in this area, lies about that, and da-da-da-da. And then I learned about the Catholic prophecies, and that have been going on for 400 or 500 years. And the guy, he named the last 10 or 15 popes, and, you know, and said there was, this one would not, Ratzinger, whom Francis took over for, would give up the Pope, and a mayor would be, and he even described that he would be of a certain type and blah, anyway, and that he would be the last Pope in the church. So for this archbishop to talk about that these are the final days, he understands what he's talking about. He understands that there might not be a Pope again from a Catholic prophecy. Now, here's the thing. If any of these churches survive, they're going to be survived because there are men like this archbishop who are going to speak out about the devilishness that's actually been going on within the Vatican, within the church, etc. I would listen to him. If I would declare this guy more of a pope than the guy who's the pope, because he is a spiritual leader. He's supposed to be the emissary. He's supposed to be the representative of God on earth. He's not God, but he's the representative. Okay, supposedly. Well, in my humble opinion, this archbishop is closer than any of these other guys that have been running their mouths. You follow me? So not that I'm about to go running off to follow a particular person, but I'm going to give this archbishop kudos. Absolutely. He's got my support, because up to this point, everything he said has been right on the money, right on the money. So, you know, and he wrote this back in June the 7th. So now how many people have heard the letter that I referred to? They've heard this recent one just a few days before Halloween, and it's all up in arms, and people are now the chaos, and I can't believe this about the Catholic Church, and what about our spiritualism? And now there are people that are really absolutely in a frenzy over this. And I'm here on the other side going, okay, Here we are. Me personally, not trying to be a prophet about this, but there were people who, like Sister Helene, if anybody was a prophet, she was. She opened my eyes to these things, but she had been to the Vatican. So anyway, inside information, and as a Dominican nun. So what do? We look at it and go, you see, there are people out there who are willing to stand up and say, this shit ain't right. Now, did he discuss that we all should go to church? No. What he did discuss was that we should all pray. Now, there are those folks out there who are trying to use the word pray as P-R-E-Y, that if you say a prayer, you're preying on somebody's energy. Well, if you really understand the idea of prayer, if I'm going to send a prayer, I'm going to send it to somebody else. So there are times when I do have a prayer for myself. Today I needed to do some business, and I said a prayer and said, y'all help me out here. I want to do this. And they did. And in the meantime, I was also asking in that prayer, should I do a video tonight about something and what should be the subject? And I realized that there are those folks who claim to be on the fence with their spirituality. They have actually made up their mind. It's just there's bells and whistles out there that are attracting their attention. And so to sit on the fence, and if you've ever, had to cross over a barbed wire fence, you can get your whatever is caught on that barbed wire when you throw a leg over, rip your pants, your underwear, your shorts, or any other body part that might be dangling down. But the idea, though, that but there are those folks who will claim they're sitting on the fence, but actually they're standing on this side of the fence. In other words, well, I don't, I'm curious about what's over there, but I'm not really sitting on it. Their remarks are that they are, though, because in their minds, somehow there's this little bit of indecision. And I'm here to help you to be confident within yourself and say, listen, you understand those basic things. Okay, you've fallen out of grace, or you've made a couple of mistakes, but if you're trying to correct them, yeah. You're still trying to do good, yeah. Then you're on this side of the fence. Quit talking about I'm on the fence about this. No, you might be you're still on your side of the fence, but you're looking on the other side of the fence going, what the hell's going on over there? Now, that's interesting as hell. But do you want to catch your gonads on the fence going over to see what it's about? Do you actually want to sit on that barbed wire? Are you really sitting on the fence? And my suggestion is probably not. If you take a good look at your own spirituality and go, no, I don't really agree with it, but I'm interested. Okay. Then you're standing on our side of the fence. You're of the good majority. Okay. We all make mistakes. We're all fumbling around here. Sometimes we lose our tempers when we really shouldn't, or whatever it is. But we still, no, I'm going to work for the good side. No, I still want to fix this. I understand that I've made some mistakes and I want to do better. The other side ain't thinking that. You get it? They don't think like that at all. So for those who might say, I'm on the fence, I would say that you're on our side of the fence, on this side of the fence. You've already made your choice. Be confident in that. Now, what does that mean? Well, that's the exploring the spirituality for the rest of your life, my life, our life, and that's what the journey's about. What else can you learn? But you've already picked a side of the fence. Be confident and be strong in that, rather than, well, I don't know. No, you do. You know. So tell yourself that. And it's not about I'm a god or a goddess. Oh, I just don't want to go there anymore with some of the stuff I've heard recently. And so it's that we are all godlike. We're made in the image and likeness of God. Pay attention to that. We're all angel beings. That's all true. But from one angel to another, I, there is nothing I wish to control or for you. I wish sometimes I could help change some people's minds, but that can only be done with positive attitude and with examples. You know, if we go out there pointing our finger at folks and screaming and hollering, jumping up and down, ain't nobody going to listen to us. It doesn't work that way. So, in my own learning of things, I realized you got to approach this from a different point of view. And first off, you have to, where am I in this point of view? Well, I realized I'm not on the fence anymore. I know what side I'm standing on. I can go up and down the fence and I can look over it, but I ain't crossing that bitch for nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to keep an eye on the other side of the fence, but I ain't crossing it. So if you can answer that simple question to yourself, well, I'm this and this and this and this, or do you feel like crossing that barbed wire? Do you? If the answer is no, then you've made up your mind. See, it is as simple as that. So, but with that simplicity, there's a lot of complicated stuff tied in there. Okay. It's not just, well, ooh, I'm okay, I'm on this side of the fence. Well, but what does that mean? So the search, your journey, are those things that reinforce that spirituality. You know, a beautiful sunset, you know, the full moon coming up tonight, even though it got cloudy. So anyways, but you know, the fact that it was a beautiful day outside, me and the dog went running, and well, the dog went running more than I did, but you know, and attitude and this and that, you know, looking, try, regardless of, well, now it's November the 1st, but I wanted to stay away from any kind of scary stories or anything for yesterday, the 31st. See, I won't even say the word because I didn't want to give any energy, because I know that there are those folks who use yesterday as a very powerful day. And the blue moon, which means there were 2 full moons in the month of October. And so now is the Day of the Dead, or All Saints Day in the Catholic Church. And what does that mean? Well, with the Mexican folks that I got to know, it was a day of remembrance. So there are people like, well, you know, they're out celebrating dead people. Yeah, in a lot of ways. Like, what? Well, All Saints Day, what's that in the Catholic Church? It was the remembrance of all the saints, to give them honor, right? So, but in like the Mexican tradition, it's that grandma and grandpa and your, you know, your Aunt Matilda and Uncle Joe, you know, who's moving kind of slow at the junction, you know, who didn't make it to the junction, or, you know, anyway. But the idea that they have passed on, so they would set up these little altars. And a good friend of mine, she was like, David, let me show you, you know, Mexican tradition. This is my grandmother. And she had a picture of her grandmother. This is my grandfather. And she had a picture of him. And so grandmother liked tortillas or something, and grandpa liked this. So there was a little plate of food in front of grandma's picture, because that's what grandma liked. And then you know, and then there was a cousin and this, and so there was the little plates of food, and it was all honored. There were candles. It was set up nice, and it was just a table with a tablecloth on it that became the altar, and the altar was nothing more than to place all these things on. So it wasn't like they were worshiping anything. They were remembering, and they were giving honor to their ancestors and to their grandparents. And now, is that in darkness? Now, there'll be those folks that are, oh, them Mexican folks, they're all about the darkness and the skeletons and all that. Yeah, okay. It's also in a way that they display the skeleton because they're not afraid of it. They display it because, ha ha, you know, you're not going to get me. You know, I have enough faith that, you know, I can display you. And so, but there are those, well, they got those, you know, those skeletons, they're worshiping the dead, and they're doing all this dark, evil stuff. No, that's because somebody's lied to you. But if you understood their culture and traditions, you'd understand it's a very sacred day. So in the Catholic tradition, it's All Saints Day. They don't talk about your grandma. But so today, you know, Granny's picture's on the wall over there. You know, I offer honor every day. But so if, you know, I wish I could make Granny's chicken and dumplings, I would make it today in her honor. You know what I mean? So there are things that, for like my pops. Okay, so I'll spend a few minutes and thinking about pops and maybe the fact that he loved golf and we used to play golf, not as often as I would have liked, but we played golf together. It was what he loved to do, and he moved on. He was like a block away from the golf course. I mean, literally, he lived in a trailer park that was part of the golf course. So with that said, though, so think about the things that they enjoyed. Granny liked to fish with a little cane pole and a worm, So I think about Granny, so I could go to the river. Well, Pops liked to go camping and canoeing and stuff like that. And he was in the Navy, so maybe well, it's today now. It's Sunday. Maybe my honor is to go floating and take Duggar in the canoe or something. But the idea, though, you do something to honor those who came before you, for those who made a difference in your life in some way, shape, or form. So it's not about worshiping the dead. They use that word worship. They love to throw it in. It's to honor the dead. And what's wrong with that? If you've been grown up being told that it's wrong and that these people are evil and that they shouldn't do it. I mean, the Catholic Church tried to wipe out anything that had anything to do with the indigenous population in Mexico, in the Americas, anywhere they went. I mean, they tried to wipe out the indigenous population down in Australia, one of the longest, oldest lineages on the planet. And they wanted to wipe them all out, So it isn't just here, but if we look around, the signs are everywhere. So how do we stay out of the chaos? I just told you. It's easy. You already know what side of the fence you're on. That should give you confidence. That should give you confidence. There are a lot of other folks, like the Archbishop described. Most of us are good. And the more we bring these things out without screaming and hollering, check out Naughty Beaver, okay? And his video of yesterday or the day before, okay? And he personally, he was a little off the rail on some things, and I couldn't quite understand him because he was so excited about what had happened and everything. But in there is the newer speech by this same Archbishop. And there's a different reference there. But so anyway, with that said, I think you should give yourself credit, and not about the God or goddess thing. The more I hear about this, the more I just want to stay away from those terminologies. But you can absolutely say that you're an angel, that you're an angel of the universe. That is absolutely true. And it doesn't need any religion to go along with it. We are all spiritual beings in this universe. We are all connected in some way, shape, or form. And this veil, it's being torn down. It's not just being lifted. It's being ripped down by some of these people. And I got to say, thank God I've been praying that somebody would come up, speak, say something, and somebody who would be noteworthy enough to say, these Bill Gates and folks and stuff, they're nuts. No. Now, with that same caveat, we have to understand that even the Republican side, it's the same coin with a different face. And I've mentioned this before. And, the Bidens are the Chicago group and the Detroit group. And, the Windy City and the Detroit Motor City, all that kind of stuff. And Detroit is the decline. When I was in Detroit before, there were all these plants that were just literally falling down and empty that used to be some type of, automotive plant or something that had to do with automotives anyway, machine shops and things. But Las Vegas, guess what? Showgirls, showtime, gambling, fun, you know, so which side would you, well, I would rather go to Las Vegas at this point. Because the folks who are the Detroit city, nothing against Detroit now, but in the comparison of the mob, the Detroit mob and the Chicago mob had a totally different point of view than them guys out in Las Vegas. Anyway, so I want to give you encouragement and say, listen, if you're worrying about your spirituality, stop worrying. Because if you could answer these 3 or 4 or 5 simple things, then don't worry. Stop worrying about it. Enjoy the fact that in the future, you're going to learn some more things that are going to be spiritually motivating. There's going to be some things like, the Catholic Church has been doing what to those folks who have been attached to that and who aren't aware of those things. It's going to be a slap in the head, kick in the teeth. I mean, but here's the thing. There are good people who have been looking out for us. Folks like me and you, that are praying, regardless of what these entities want or what their end game is. So, if anything, it should give us courage, not necessarily from a Catholic point of view, but from a spiritual point of view, that there are I would say, if they're pointing out Bill Gates and so forth and vaccines and the COVID, if they're pointing this out and that it's a fake and a phony and everything, wow, right? There's more truth in that. Oh, and by the way, when I went into Moultrie tonight, I haven't been into Moultrie in probably about a month or so. And I went into this store and I went into that store, went in here and checked on that. And a lot of people aren't wearing masks down here. I mean, just, in Home Depot, I had my mask, but I realized some of the workers in there weren't even, they had them down, but this, and the one lady at the register, she was keeping her social distancing. And I thought, yeah, okay. But there are people in and out and back and forth, around. Then people over here at this store, nobody had a mask on. People over here getting gas and, 10, 15 people in and out, nobody had a mask on. People over here doing this and that, nobody had a mask on. So this idea that they're gonna make us all do it down here, the South will rise again. I'm here to tell you. We're just in general, because how people are already acting, we ain't gonna put up with it. Now, them folks up in the Northeast corridor and stuff up there in the United States that are ones that are doing all this stuff and have wrapping themselves in plastic bags and whatever, them folks got issues. But us folks down here, I'm just been looking around and just polite conversation. Everybody's like, I've had the flu before. And, if we were, people have been referred, and they just look at each other and go, this is stupid, and I'm sorry, but, Southerners are supposed to be portrayed as a bunch of dumb idiots, Hey, y'all doing down there? Well, we're doing a whole lot better than y'all because we ain't wearing our mask and we feel healthier than you do. But, anyway. So looking around and nobody's freaking out about it. Nobody's, ooh, you don't have a mask on. But there was that lady at the checkout line who was trying to keep her distance, But I had my mask on, but like down over here, And so they didn't tell me it says to wear a mask. It doesn't say over your nose or mouth. It just says to wear it. So, I could wear it on my arm. I could wear it in my pocket. I could, So anyway, but I put it on because I wanted to see how, and then I realized, well, crap, nobody else is really paying attention to this shit. I ain't either. Good. I'm going to pull mine down then. And so, but nobody was like getting upset about it, is my point. So in this idea that they're going to control the masses, they may be controlling those paranoid, crazy people up in the Northeast, but I'm sorry, the folks down here, I think they're pretty much already done with it. They could make it a thing, but I don't think that a lot of Southerners are going to pay attention to them. They're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. They've already made up their mind. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not wearing them now. And so having another lie and then having this archbishop come out and discuss this, and the president taking the letter and then retweeting it kind of thing and all this. So, and then for those folks who are like, well, Trump's, he's the bad guy. Well, now that those Catholics who might be wanting to vote for Biden are going to hear this from an archbishop, that Biden is the bad guy, that all my friends, there's a lot of Tampa Catholic folks that are like, won't speak to me because I changed sides, I was like, and it had nothing to do with sides, but do you understand what these people are standing up for? Do you understand what the agenda they're pushing? Oh, no, you're just a conspiracy. Yeah, okay, I agree with that. But are you paying attention? Well, now, after these last 4 years, and after all these people have called me, that I'm fucking crazy, now this archbishop comes up with the truth and so now I've been vindicated, as a lot of other people too. So, but now there's going to be, that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of folk. But what side of the fence you on? Admit it, you're on this side. Now, doesn't mean but we all believe in these core values. And by golly, you can torture me or whatever. I ain't changing sides. You might brainwash me with some kind of drug or something and a bunch of flashing lights, but I am not willingly going to go. So, and I'm going to keep my eye on these crazy bastards because, I did that little sci-fi story. But the thing is that you got to be aware if they've already done movies and stuff like that, they're already got plans like this in the works because they love to show it to us first. So where do we go from here? Stay positive. Vote on Tuesday. I'm going, one way or the other, I'm going to be voting on Tuesday. But so this idea, so what does this current information do to us? Nothing if you don't let it. It should open your eyes and go, son of a bitch. Wow. Not only me, but there have been people who've been talking about this. And because the Vatican touches all religions, they're all, intertwined. And for every person that you see or have seen that's been yakking with the Pope about, all this spirituality and the Muslims and this person and then that person, we're all getting together because we all want this new world order. See, Archbishop says, having nothing to do with Christianity or a religion, if you will, because the Catholic Church is supposed to be about Christianity. So if it's the true Catholic Church, not an apostate, meaning a fake, and even Mother Mary and Sister Lucia from the Fatima, she warned of an apostate, which is one of the things that in my contact and understanding with Mother Mary was exactly that. There are those people who are trying to tell us this is how it works, when actually they're feeding us a line of shit. Oh, Francis telling everybody to throw out your Catholic Bibles, get the new one. And if you read the old one, you're not part of the crowd. What? When they turned the altar around, that was one change. And then a few years later, I went back to the church and there were people sitting in groups and they're doing this hugging thing and they're doing this thing. And I looked around and I went, excuse my French, but I said, what the fuck happened to the Catholic Church? What the fuck happened to the Catholic Church? And I haven't been back in a church, not a Catholic church, since then. Because there was, from what I grew up with as the ceremony of the Catholic Church, there was, the only thing that was even remotely close was the fact that there was a priest, a chalice, and an altar. And that they said prayers, and they bowed their heads, they stood up, sat down, and kneeled down. Other than that, the times, the organ, it was so goofed up. I said, I will never come back to this. Never. Not even, I will, if a Catholic friend of mine died and they were having the services in the church, I would go. But that's the only circumstance. Maybe a marriage, but, But this idea that, the church is, well, oh my God, and this and that, no. Mary warned about it through Sister Lucia, who was the last remaining child, after from Fatima. But she warned about it in one of the original prophecies of Fatima, which were later changed and altered. But that's a whole nother story. But I should write his name down because I keep thinking about it. The priest that wrote all those books and everything, that died in 1999, he was on the radio and all with, what you call it, to midnight. But anyway, he talked about the Catholic Church and the Vatican and so forth, and all of his books and teachings and readings and so forth. And here's the thing, is that those things have been proven true. He's been vindicated. Of course, for those of us that had a little bit of inside knowledge, and let me put this. If I'd had just the visions, I'd have went, But now I had a person, a Dominican nun, who sat down with me, and we had very deep conversations for several weeks in a row, every evening. And with that said, though, I had an understanding, and I had faith in Sister Helene, and not the church, not the priest, especially the pedos. So she put me on a spiritual path, and I haven't left it. So how does that refer to you? Is there something in your life that you said, I'm just not going with them folk. I just don't agree with those people over there. I don't agree with whatever it is. Like, okay, there's, the Baptists, and then there's snake handlers. You know what I mean? So you go, well, I don't know if I'd be going and handling any snakes, but okay. But, the idea that they were using the Bible, that they were using Christianity and Jesus, as they say, as their motivation, as their excuse in some ways. But so in this spirituality, after all the lies from the Catholic Church that are being proven and brought out by those folks in the church, people are going to say, well, where's my spirituality? I've lost my religion. Well, basically, the religion has failed you. But you still, and I've talked with a few people, and they still believe in God. They still believe in Jesus. They still believe in helping folks. So the goodness of the religion and their core belief hasn't changed. But their idea of the religion that they have been so, force-fed? No, because a lot of us Catholics just said, I ain't buying this no more. But to them, they want to keep their faith. They want to stay loyal to the church. They want to stay, and I talked about loyalty. So in the spiritual loyalty, they're trying to stay loyal to the church and loyal to the priesthood and loyal to the Vatican, when that's just all been a sham. So what can they rely on? Do they still believe in God? Do they still believe in, well, for them, God, Jesus, you still believe in the nonviolence thing, which falls under that, the law of one, do no harm. Then those folks are going to need help. Why? Because they need to be able to understand, listen, you're still a spiritual being. God still loves you. Okay. But the church, forget the church. Forget the church. Forget any of the religions. How are you doing spiritually? You still believe in, but yeah. Then you're good. But what about the church? Well, the church said it was a sin to eat meat on Friday. Then one day they just came up and said, whoops, we take that back. And the Pope waved his hands and said, everybody's absolved from previous sins. Oh, really? What about all the heartache and the times back in the 60s when we were doing the carnival? We couldn't find anything but a hamburger or a hot dog to eat when we were working, and we're hungry and we're starving. Oh, that's okay. We're going to forgive you because you ate a hamburger. You know, the idea of a poor 10, 11, 12-year-old kid having to live with the sin of eating a hamburger. And now, whoops, all of a sudden it's okay. So religion has lied to everybody in some way, shape, or form to control them, to make a part of whatever it is that they deem necessary. But the idea, do I believe in a God? Do I believe in whether I believe in the creator? Okay, slight difference, but you believe in the, higher being, you believe in goodness, you believe, yeah, okay, we're good. Then these people are okay spiritually. Their minds have been blown from a religious point of view, but they're spiritually, they're okay. They don't know that. And that's what we're here on the other end of this thing. And so many people are going to be going batshit cray cray. And we just got to say, it's okay. It's all right. There is truth in some of this. And instead of religion, we need to bring them back to, how are you doing spiritually, my friend? Well, but the Pope calm down. Do you still believe in God? Yeah, still. That's how you calm them down. You still got it. Regardless of what the church has said, has changed, didn't say, do you still believe in God, creator, the soul, so forth? Yep. Okay. You're good. That's it. What do you mean? That's it. And have faith in your spirituality. Not about a church, but about your spirituality. There you go. That's it in a nutshell. Oh, I did it in an hour and a half without wandering too badly. Hey, three warriors. The area vicinity is a small area, but everyone. Darkness falls. Okay. There are a lot of there's a channel I subscribe to, several anyway, but there's been some sacrifices here recently. I mean, honest to God, sacrifices, killings. Young lady was killed recently, murdered for the sacrifice by the Vlach. And that's the side that the Bidens are on, okay? Just so you know, the Vlach. Now, with that said, there are these people, and the only way we can stop them is to catch them. But if we don't catch them, it's going to be kind of hard to stop them, okay? And they're nefarious. They're sneaky bastards. And we're not necessarily used to sneaking around in the darkness to do sacrifices for any reason. And so they catch us unawares. They're doing stuff, I say, without our knowledge. One of the things we need to understand without our own spirit, there are them folks out there. Now, do we worry about them? No. But we stay aware. Yeah, they're out there. Are there pedophiles? Yep. Is there human trafficking? Yep. Is there cannibalism? Yep. Is there this? Yes. All of that's true. Now, here's the thing. What can I do down here in the swamp? Nothing. Now, if I saw somebody being kidnapped or something, but, my situation is different. If I lived in a town or a community, but I'm going to keep my eyes out. If I'm riding through town, if I see something suspicious, I'm going to pay attention. So that's what we do. We keep an eye out for suspicious activities, but not to the point where it makes us crazy. Because then we're still playing into the chaos. So we see it out there. So people, like me, been talking about the church for a long time. Yes, there are good people within the church, but the church has fallen ill. And this archbishop has stated so. It's gone wrong. It's taken a hard left turn. And, so with that said, there are folks in all of the religions who have, in some way, shape, or form, have taken that same turn. Not everybody, but it's there. So we are being ruled by those few who keep us in fear. So the first thing we do is say, I see you over there. Yeah, you got a gun. Okay. But I'm gonna make sure that I'm confident that I'm gonna stay out of your way, but I'm gonna keep my eye on you. And but you know, and I might even get myself a little protection on the side. Now, me personally, as a as a convict, I can't own any type of firearm. No, but there are a lot of other weapons, that you can consider. You know what a shiv is? You've heard that term, right? So, you say, well, you're under arrest. Okay, fine. So somebody comes up to you and then you shove a shiv through their neck. Now, they can fire off a couple of bullets, but they're dead. Okay. So, there are lots of things that you can do and protections and things. It doesn't have to be a firearm. And you can just be protected spiritually and say, I know what I know. And I'm going to keep learning. I am a shaman in training. And for those people who, well, he claims he's a shaman. Finish the sentence. I am a shaman in training. I've always said that. And there are those folks who forget those last few words. I think each one of you are shamans in training. We've all got our own spiritual journey. We've all got our own thing, but we share the same common things. We believe in the law of one, do no harm, and we believe we all want to work for the light side. That's all I need to know. We're members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, and I am proud to know you, my friends. So, with that said, hour and 40 minutes in. Hi, Christy Schaefer. The ones think that can get away with harming must not see fine print on the contract that mentions you have to pay for karma when you leave the body for eternity. They have a chance to make wrongs right in the body. I believe that too. Observe, tell, truth, whistleblower, build a better world. Thank you, Christy. Yep, truth sword. I absolutely agree. Let's see. Let me scroll back up here. Candy Apple, blessed, abundant, loving dreams to all. Night, night, Candy Apple, you're already gone. Okay, 3 warriors. Something about a vicinity that 3 warriors is near. Slightly slanted, it's good to see you. That's easy for me to say. Yeah. There are places around that. What did you use plain flour and water for? I got to go back up here. Hey, Mossy Man, June the 6th, Dave. Never follow the social engineering. The gatekeeper is the church system. Okay, going back up to here. 3 Warrior says, being calm can be just as hard. It really is. Yep, I agree with you, Mossy Man. Hinduism and Buddhism is where Jesus studied. He studied Eastern traditions and possibly even some of the Confucianism. But anyway, 3 Warriors asked me if are you upset, Hawkeye? That was a ways back up. I'm not really upset. I try to, there are times, when, as an actor and a person who's, there are times when I'm over emphatic and I really want to bring the seriousness of the issue, I guess. But when I saw some of this stuff, I was like, I guess the part that if I'm a little ticked off about, it would be the fact that it took so long for some of these people to stand up and actually start talking the truth. Why did they wait so long? Did they have an agenda? Just saying, But to all of this, regardless of religion, regardless of any of this other stuff, how do we stay strong during the chaos? Understand who you are. I am a light being. I know I still have things to learn, as we all do. But with that simple understanding, it's like, well, I didn't learn anything today. It was sort of a humdrum day, but tomorrow might just be freaky weird and you just get all kinds of enlightenment, you know? So, but we take each day, it's all part of the journey. And when we keep our loving intent and, you know, and when I say I pray for you all every day, I'm not lying. I mean it. You know, I'm serious about it. You know, and I was talking with a friend today and I said, you know, I really am truly worried for y'all. So not necessarily you all, but for some of these folks who are claim to be on the fence, I'm worried about their souls. I am, because there's so much deceit and there's so many people that they have become loyal to. And you know, there are people within the Catholic Church. This is the big example, that have been loyal to the Catholic Church, and now they find out that you know, a lot of this is they've been lied to. It's going to be different. It's going to be interesting. But for those of us who understand the basic idea of spirituality, we don't have to go throwing any text to them. We just have to say, stay calm. Do you still believe in these things? If so, don't worry about it. It'll shake out, you know. The church, if the Catholic prophecy is true, then this is it for the Catholic Church as it stands. Now, could it be restructured? Can it be, you know, there's some good stuff the Catholic Church has done. But again, some of it may have been politically motivated, but, you know, have they, you know, there are people that I know of personally who work with Catholic charities, and they don't go to church, but they will work with Catholic charities. They'll go and help feed people. They'll donate food. They'll do this thing and that, and in the name of Catholic charity. So it could be somebody else's charity. That's just the name. But to the point, though, regardless of what the religion, and they've told me this, regardless of what the religion has done, they still have their faith in God, in Jesus, and of that purity of spirit and of helping and doing for others. So remind them. It may be confusing to these people. It's our job. I mentioned this the other day. I said there's going to be stuff that's going to come out, and we're going to have to be the people on the other side that try to calm them down and go, it's okay. It's all right, you know. Because if you want to use the Christian religion and what this means, you just say, you still believe in what Jesus said? Yeah. Then forget about the religion. What do you mean? Do you still believe in Jesus Christ? And yes. Okay, then you're good. Now, we might have a different opinion of what we mean by that, but to keep them from going out on a limb and being even more confused, keep with the basics. Do you still believe in Jesus? Yeah. You still believe in good? Yeah. You still believe in? Yeah. You're good. And pat them on the back for it. But what about the church? And what, well, you know, Jesus didn't have a church. He had his teachings. So if you want to use him as a reference, look, you know, Jesus had his teachings, and, you know, what did he say? And, you know, the church is the church. It ain't Jesus. So you still believe in him? You still believe in his word? You still believe in salvation? Yeah. Forget about the church. It forgot about you. Now, again, depending on how well you know a Catholic or somebody that's going to be influenced by this, but there are already a lot of upset people just a few days before the election. And I just want to, you know, kind of just throw in this. So the white hats have kind of sort of not necessarily waited on the bombshell, but waited close enough to the election to throw it out there. And so for those folks, you know, he said, hey, you know, if you vote for Biden, you're voting for these guys. And so for those people within the church who go, wait a minute, you just called the Pope out, and now you're saying that this guy, oh, holy crap. So what do I do? So you say to those people who may be on the fence, you go, listen to this Archbishop. He's on the right track. He is telling the truth. Just saying. So anyway, I love you all. To not go continuously rambling on about this. Light-minded beings. Yes, Michelle. The bad day is harder to be good. I say BS, being bad just waste everyone's time. Rothschilds of them rich men had 3 heart transplants, still didn't make it past 100. So evil does die no matter how many. Yeah, earlier trying to say they have to turn to the light side or get recycled in the sun. Or get torn up in a shredder, literally torn up in a shredder and distributed into. But anyway, to your point, Christy, um, a bad day is one that you can't see anything. And on the worst of days, I still say, well, I'm still here. And the worst of days, well, I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I still got this. And considering, having honestly been in jail and having all freedoms taken away, and then trying to reintegrate myself into society. Now there's several programs that are trying to help, ex-cons. And there are a lot of folks who are in for drugs. And I'm sorry, but even Joe Biden said one of his things, of course, his son was a crack addict. But the idea that, these folks should be helped. Well, he's right. But he signed bills when he was a senator and, that 3 strikes are out. If you've been convicted of something, no, you get 20 years. Well, I just had like a couple of grams of this drug, and they wanted to give me 20 years. So it's not how much of the drug you have, it's the fact that you have it. And so they make these laws, but you were in possession of it. Yeah, like 10 good snorts. Well, I'm going to get the same 20 years as somebody that's got an ounce of this stuff. Okay. So, it's way out of whack. But the idea, though, that, a lot of us have been talking about, I got picked up and arrested for a drug charge. Okay, that made me a felon. All right. Now, in the state of Georgia, after so many years, if you've not been picked up or whatever, so forth, you can register to vote again. But I can't do anything else. I can, because I was a non-violent offender, apply for a gun permit. But the hoops you got to run through, and I'm like, forget about it. I'll just use my crossbow. I'll use my hatchet. I got a blade that if I get close to you, I don't care what kind of gun you got, your arm's coming off. Anyway. So, I've been watching too much Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Anyway, but this idea, though, that we must give in to them, not if enough of us will stand up and say, I do not consent, and we're making those statements. And before we follow down the wrong side of this fence any longer, stand up and be confident with the decisions you've already made. And, it's whether or not anybody agrees with you at this point, because we've got to get through this transition. This next 6 months to a year, there's going to be so much stuff that's going to get shaken. And there's so many people whose beliefs will be shaken. So they believed in the Catholic Church, and they believed that all these people were telling the truth. So their spiritualism will suffer because of what the church did. And the church has nothing to do with their spiritualism. Just like the Archbishop said, they're doing all these things in the name of the New World Order, and it has nothing to do with Christianity. So, with that said, my friends, the laws of energy. Yep, wood chipper, burnt in the sun. Yep. Subatomic, Christy, just to be a stick in the mud. Subatomic, quantum, but yes, shredded. Travis the Brick, how you doing? The government caused the whole drug issue because some dude said it was bad and told you that you can't do it. And there you go. And so they're pushing this thing now. The recent commercials are, so here's the Archbishop who's been in the Vatican, was a liaison to the United States from the Catholic Church point of view, says that COVID was made up, that the masks are no good, that the government's lied to us about this, and that Trump's right, basically, and supports Trump, says vote for him, please. So, because he is trying to rectify these things, whether you like him or not, but versus the other side, we got to take this one. So, the confusion that is going to be, oh, wait a minute, no, he's wrong. Biden's this really good guy. Really? Okay. Now, his current wife, they said that when he was a junior senator, that his wife was killed in an accident and his son was gravely injured and so forth. Now, there are those, now listen to this part of the conspiracy. There are those who wish to become a part of the organization, but they must sacrifice someone they love. Now, I'm not exactly sure, but there's been some of that conspiracy thing in that he lost his wife, as this person did. There was a bunch of examples, somebody lost their son and somebody lost this. And because within the group, there must be a sacrifice. Somebody's got to die in order for you to be able to get ahead in this. Okay, somebody's got to go. There has to be an exchange. And so, the fact that it does exist, and I'm hoping that now that this archbishop has spoken out, that there will be a lot of other, former, Catholic clergymen that say, listen, we know this about this, and yes, he's right, and yes, we believe this, and yes, you should be spiritual, and fuck the church. Sorry, using the F word a lot here in this video for some reason, but anyway. Travis, how are you? It is all about money. Well, Chrissy, it's all about money to some of them, but here's what the money represents, and it's power. So they're more interested in the power and the control, but money is part of that control. So it is the money, but you got to take that a step further. The people who want the money are also, they want the power that the money brings them. So the money is just it's the power. They are greedy for the power. And money's just a part of the deal. But with that said, though, we still got to back up and go, we're not going to let these people, I don't care if it's Soros or whoever it is, I see your game. Now, can I personally stop him? No, but I can say prayers that there will be people who can stop him that will, So it's like, somebody out there, do your stuff, And so my prayers for a long time is I pray to God that somebody will stand up and tell the truth about the church. It's happened. So I've gotten a good portion of my wish in these last, with reading these letters and seeing this. So I've gotten I've gotten my wish. There are people that are, I'm just a peon, right? He was in the Vatican. Pay attention to this guy and what he has to say. And if you're going to believe something, there's a lot of horse shit out there. But this guy, in my humble opinion, from what I've heard and read of him up to this point, he's 100%. I mean, there are things I'm like, well, he's everything he said up to this point, he's right on the money. Let's give this guy our love. You know what I mean? A power, then they need negative energy to live. Yes. But through that power, that's how they get the negative energy, because they can crush other people by the money and power. But yes, Christy, you're absolutely right. But see, people say, well, it's all about the money. It's all about the power, which is the money and which is other thing. It's the church. And but with the church, it's all about money. Little old ladies that on Social Security are giving 10% of their income to the church. The church should be paying them. Just saying. But there are little old lady and little old men who are giving money to the 700 Club. When I'm like 700 Club, my ass. When they preach dominion over the planet and that we can tear up Mother Earth. God gave us the right to tear up this earth and use it as we see fit. No, he didn't. But anyway, but that's what they preach. So would I send them money? Oh, hell no. So are there liars in different religions and different cults? Absolutely. Absolutely. And these people have got power and they're powerful. They're on TV and they've got a following and they've got all this stuff and they're lying. Hey, Truth and Me, looping. Yep, going back around in circles and circles. So I'm going to quit this. Don't worry, I will fight. Yeah, I'm not worried about y'all. But I am telling you to, if you're looking for things to hang on to your own spirituality. Keep that core value. I've talked about it months ago about, there were messages coming from Mother Mary and other folks in places that, things are going to get tough and we really need to hold on to our spirituality. And now that these things are coming out about the church, those people who are involved in that are going to have their spirituality challenged. They're going to challenge their own spirituality because of the church. So in that, the warning is correct. Here it is. Dum, da, da, dum. Now, I'm not claiming to be a prophet, but I am claiming to be a messenger. So, and I'm proud to say, as much as it's disturbing information, I'm proud that the truth is actually coming out. It has been told to me by priests and laypersons within the Catholic Church, and also my own study, and also the feeling that I have inside, that guy's lying to me. Wait a minute. When the Pope told the Catholics to throw away their Bibles and get the new one, I was like, it says in Revelations, he who changes the word of God shall be written out of the book of the tree of life forever and ever. Duh. So any Catholic that followed that and threw out their old Bibles to get the new one has just, big sin. They've just, followed Satan down the hole kind of thing. So where do we go from here? We reconsider and we make sure that we're true to our spirit. That's what matters. So anyway, Travis the Brick. Also, certain drugs are used by the government to test the effects it has on people. And if they die, oh, well, just scum drugs using. Yep. Christy, they cause disasters to get the blood that has fear. That too. Yep. All of that's true. They use all these different kinds of things. So, yes, it's true. So, but here's the thing. Should you continue to emphasize it? Well, they're using our loose, they're using our blood. Okay, we get it. Let's focus. The more we focus on what they're doing and talking about it and looping it within ourselves. Well, did you know they're to do it? Yes. Okay, drop it. Why? Because you're giving energy to it. The more you discuss it, the more you are taking away your own personal positive energy. Well, but these people are doing it. You're right. Okay. But the more we live it, the more but these people are doing it. I went through that with the Catholic Church thing myself. But these people, these priests, these things, y'all don't get it. Pay attention, and then I realized, whoa, I got to back off of this because I'm playing right into it. I can't have any good thoughts further than this because I'm so wrapped up in the goo and the nasty and the blackness and yes, it exists. That's all we need to know. Do you want to know the particulars? Not really. Well, they tortured these kids and then they, reached literally inside them and pulled out do I really want to know that? No, it's bad enough that I know they're using children and adults and other people. It's bad enough that I know that there's trafficking going on. That's bad enough. Do I need to know the ins and outs? No. All I need to know is it exists, and I'm going to pray against it. But they do this. Okay, calm down. I get it. You got it. Now, should you keep discussing it over and over and over again to promulgate it? Or do you want to say, there is this human trafficking and stuff, and I just continue to pray against it? Keep it to a minimum, because the more we discuss it in this loopiness, we're giving away our energy to them by discussing it. I know it's like far-fetched kind of thought, but, in my worrying about what they were going to do on Halloween yesterday, I kept thinking that, well, I'm worried about what they're going to, and I thought to myself, holy crap, I'm creating a situation, just like the cards say, the animal cards, that, it's sort of like rabbit, in that you're so fearful of it, you run out. Rabbit runs to the middle of the field and goes, "Don't eat me, hawk. Don't eat me, eagle. You can't see me down here." And if he doesn't get eaten, he goes back out in the field the next day and he hollers even louder. So it's like, "Don't eat me, I'm afraid." Well, then shut up. But anyway, hey, David Castle. Yes. Now, to the experiment, let me back that boat up just a little bit, and I will give my own personal thing is that several years ago, I was being tested for my epilepsy. So I was on this regimen from my doctor of like 15 years at the time, and we were handling my situation as best as possible. When I got Medicare, that was like, well, maybe you should go and see a neurologist, somebody who's supposed to know what they're talking about. So I go in, he does these tests and he does these things, and he seems like a pretty nice guy. So then he says, okay, well, I want to try this new drug on you. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with what I'm taking? Well, it's just not effective. And otherwise you wouldn't be here. Well, okay, that's true. So I want to see if there's something else. So he says, okay, so we're going to take you off of all of your drugs that I've been taking for the last 12 years. Cold turkey, mind you, take you off of all these drugs and put you on this new one. We're just here today. You must turn in all of your drugs, which I did. Couldn't get them back. So when his drugs didn't work, I couldn't get mine back. I had to turn all of my stuff in. So when his didn't work, I'm left with nothing. And what I ended up with was seizures every 5 to 10 minutes. For days, I went through this. And I thought I was dead several times. I was just like, I'm out of here. And so then to boot, they give you this new drug, and then they stick a strobe light, literally this far from your face, very bright light, and make you have a seizure to prove whether or not you actually have epilepsy. So they give you the drugs, they flash these lights at you, and you say, well, there have been people who poo-pooed me over time about, well, lights can't affect you. That's how they test you for epilepsy, how bad your seizures are. They put the light to your face and make it blink faster and faster and brighter, and then watch the screen to see if your brain goes crazy or not. So they make you have a seizure. They force your brain through the drugs and through the thing to do this. And when I got done with it, I was like, these people are medieval mofos. Medieval. I think I've not been on Iraq, but in the way that the light hurt me, physically hurt me. And I've told people, I said, the light hurts. Oh, you're just full of bullshit. Well, okay. I don't wish it on you, but one of these days, the light's going to hurt you and you're going to go, crap, he was right. And I've had this conversation with other people that have epilepsy, in that light hurts them. They're light sensitive. Well, if they're sensitive to it, it hurts them. Okay. So with this knowledge, are they doing? Oh, yeah. So I was involved in the mental health area for a long time because I was diagnosed with, this and bipolar, and then it was that, and then it was this. And anyway, what it was that I've had 25 head concussions. I'm not lying, 25. Serious. That don't count all the times I've been hit in the head. That's how many. 15 really good, serious head concussions. Okay. Several of them put me in the hospital kind of thing. So the idea, okay, I ramble. The idea that I can actually speak, walk, and talk and still drive a vehicle is amazing because a few years back, I couldn't do any of that. I was sitting in a wheelchair, drooling out of both sides of my mouth and having a seizure every 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10. For weeks, this went on. It was horrible. So are they manipulating us? Yeah, the people in mental health, either you do what we say or we're going to take your meds away. So when I told this neurologist that the drugs, were making me, he doubled my intake. Well, you're not taking enough of the drug because it's not working. And I'm trying to tell him it's too much. Whatever this is too much, right? Called Benzal. And a new experimental drug. Oh, we're all using it, right? Well, after 3 weeks of treating me like this, and after 3 weeks, I went from walking, talking, having a conversation. I was a director of a play. And after the play was over, then I went from being active to a wheelchair, couldn't drive, and having seizures. And then, you know what he told me? He said, "You're lying. Get the fuck out of my office," and dropped me. Without any medication, wouldn't give me my meds back. I had to go back to another doctor. So he took me off my meds, which gave me a reaction, put me on a new med that didn't fucking work. And then he blasted me many times with the flashing lights. And then said, "You're faking it. You're not, how can you fake a seizure?" Just saying. But in so he threw me out of his office and told me never to come back and left me basically in the gutter, if you know what I mean. And so I know what these people are capable of, and they do it in the name of medicine. So am I aware of it? Oh, yeah. Did they throw me in the crazy house because of it? Yes. Because I was going through this issue of seizures, no medicine. They'd taken my stuff away. The doctors had changed. Oh, my goodness. So I was having enough issues with head bangs. And then the doctors and people in the fields messed with it even more. Well, you should take more. Well, you shouldn't take that. You should take this. Well, wait a minute. I was doing okay. Don't change my medicine. No. You've been on that medicine long enough, but now we want you to take this one. What? But I'm telling you, this medicine is doing me okay. I'm good with this. Nah, we're not giving that medicine anymore. You're going to have to take this one. So then you have to get off of that one in less than 30 days because they say, "Well, I'm here for my pills. And how many you got left?" "Oh, 5 the rest of this week." Well, when you take the rest of them and then that's it, where you start this new drug. Well, wait a minute. My body's used to this other one, mentally, physically, whatever. Now you switch them, take me off of this one. So I'm having withdrawals. And also I'm trying to get to learn what this new drug feels like. And in the meantime, I'm crazier than batshit, trying to deal with all this stuff and the chemical changes and whatever mental imbalance I seem to be working out myself, which I've settled. It had to do with a lot of stuff. But anyway, but the idea is I agree with you. And are they giving people drugs and doing this and that and the other thing? Yes. And there have been people that I've talked to, friends of mine, and I had to have this drug and I had to have this. And I was like, well, when you retire, you let me know if you feel that you still need those same drugs. And a good friend of mine recently told me, because, he said, "I don't take near what I used to when I was working. And, the Xanax, that and thing, I'm not upset like I used to be." And I was like, yeah, okay. So if people can maintain those kinds of things in their life without a drug, and which is going to manipulate you, then you've given up sort of control to gain control. You know what I mean? You say, well, I got to have this pill. I just got to have it. If I don't have my Valium, I'm just going to go freaking nuts. Okay, calm down. But if you could learn to calm down without taking the drug, because the Valium it ain't good for you. And it made me go nuts, and I tried to hang myself and commit suicide because of my interaction with Valium. And it says right on my medical things, do not give this person Valium. No, because of previous drug interactions that I had with it. So, but in that though, they call it practicing medicine on purpose because they're practicing with this. And for the last 3 years, I've been doing better than I've done in a while. And I haven't been to the doctor. I need to go. I need to have my blood work up and some things. I need to have my prostate checked again. It's been that many years, So, but the idea, though, that, do I need the doctor? No, not at this point. Now, my friend Martha, bless her heart, I went into town and got pizza and took her some pizza over there tonight for, they threw her out of the hospital, basically because her insurance wouldn't pay anymore. So she's got a hospital bed at the house. She's living in her living room and can't get to the bathroom. So she's got a toilet sitting beside. But she can't be in the hospital because the insurance won't pay. It'll only pay up to so many days. She really needs it, She's waiting for the hospital to come up and to have her lower back worked on because of the nerve endings and so forth. And she can't get around because her arm's still broken and shattered. And they won't give her an electric wheelchair because, well, the insurance and this and that. Well, she's a large lady. She needs help. And, there's all these problems. Well, we can't she really needs it. Well, but, friends and family, she don't have her son disavowed her. And, a lot of our friends are dead or moved away. And when you live out in the country, it's just, But so this idea, though, that, they have control of us, even when you're at their mercy, well, we can't keep you in the hospital anymore. Goodbye. We're going to send you home. See you later. Hope you do well. Well, if you don't make it, we tried. Current situation. Hi, Barry Chad. How are you? Yeah, government tested on many civilians. And if any of you remember back in the day, I know I'm rambling, and if anybody's made it this far in the video, the really good stuff was earlier, but this is still pertaining to it too. Yeah, your energy goes where your thoughts flow. That's sort of what I was discussing earlier, David. Nicely put. And favor back to you, David Castle. Christy says Catholic Church aids in human trafficking while illegal come into Catholic hospital. There's a lot of that shadiness that's going on. Absolutely. I mean, back in the day, Father Flanagan's, School for Boys, they found out about some of the weird crap that was going on through Father Flanagan's. And, my pops gave money to Father Flanagan's. He adopted me, his nephew, to keep me from being adopted by some unknown out in the world and to keep me in the family. And so he was very, until he died, he gave to these charities for children, boys, girls, anyway, orphans, so forth. And so his heart was in the right place until he died. And then I found all these receipts, and he was given a good chunk of his limited income out to these charities. So, but Father Flanagan's and some of these folks, when they found out that there was all this, there was pedophilia going on, but also that there was trafficking. Some of the boys were just disappearing. Well, he ran away and this, that, and anyway. So you don't hear about Father Flanagan's much anymore. You know what I'm saying? The church and folks just kind of wipe that stuff out of the way. Legal torture. Yes. LEDs flash like super fast, and they are trying to figure out how to control people with them, and they force them on the public. And I wonder why. Yep, Travis. Um, if Three Warriors, if you're happy that I'm still here, so am I. I'm not sure what, but yes, they're doing this thing in the name of science, and so this this idea that they are practicing on us, and they are not telling us the truth about many things, and yeah, they put me in the crazy house because I spoke up. That's absolutely true. And they hogtied me and tied me to a gurney. But they didn't know that I had practiced being Houdini. And when they came back into the room that they had locked me in and tied me to the bed, I had untied myself, both of my hands and my feet, and was sitting at the edge of the gurney with the with the cuffs in my lap. And then when they walked in, I was like, "Here, do you want? Are you going to tie me back down again, or can we just forego this? What? How did you get out of that?" They freaked out, and I didn't overreact, but anyway, yeah, I've been there too. Yeah, they've known about sound and light for torture. Thank you, Three Warriors. I'm glad we have all crossed paths true as well. Yeah, I am a messenger, and sometimes I've been shot at, which is okay. I accepted the terms. Barry, good evening. Blessings to you too. Three Warriors, it's 11:27 there. It's 1:31 this time. And somewhere along the line, y'all supposed to gain an hour. I have not. Wait a minute. Oh, the clock's right. See, I refuse to change my clocks in the spring. So my clocks are now, you guys have come back to my time. Anyway, phones had a flash and invisible eye that flashed when you watched YouTube videos. Yep. Qualcomm is using phones to link to your brain. Yep. Poor here and always will be. Money wise, Three Warriors, I realize that I've been poor all my life too. But here's something I also realize in that I realize the value of a dollar. And like, wow, I got $10. Wow, I'm rich. Wow. And in the carnival, excuse my language, but they used to call that nigger rich, Yeah, you got paid on Friday, you're nigger rich, And they all come down to the carnival and spend the money because, anyway. But back in the day, that was just sort of an accepted, it was accepted like a Pollock joke was. But anyway, now it's very offensive. And I was watching a movie the other day, and it was Ice-T and somebody else, and they were calling each other niggas, and I was like, but if a white person says it, oh man, we're racist. Y'all quit using it too then. Y'all quit calling each other that, and when you black folks quit calling each other niggas, then maybe those other folks who are white racists, well, wait a minute, you do it to yourselves. Why can't I use the word? I'm, okay, and I listened to them. It was, I can't remember what the movie was, but they were just going back and forth calling each other, and I was like, okay, so kids are watching this, trying to choose the right and the wrong of this. So here's two black actors, well known, one of them Ice-T, using this euphemism back and forth between them. But then, a white person that even mentions something like that, we're racist. So are they racist to themselves? I'm very confused about this. It's all right if you do it, but it ain't all right if we do it. You can call me a white honky, but if I call you a freaking blah, 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 then, wait, it's all right for you to call me a white trash something, but if I use that euphemism that you all use between yourselves, boy, what a weird standard. How I got off on that tangent, I don't know. But anyway, I was like, no wonder the world is confused. You know what I mean? Well, you can't use that word. Well, then you all quit using it. Well, but we can use it because we are. No, you shouldn't use it either. If I went around and said, I'm a white honky, hey, everybody, no, I'm David. No, I'm the white honky, I mean, come on. Anyway, just craziness. But the flashing lights and everything, and here's something that people really aren't paying attention to, and I have mentioned this before, and I'm going to close with this. If people don't understand that the flashing lights and the video screens, especially the video games, they are being programmed. They don't have a clue. But these folks that play a lot of video games, can they stop it? The answer is no. Now, I used to be a video gamer, so I get it. And I couldn't wait to get home to get to my game. Way back when, when VGA was still like a really big deal, And anyway, so this idea, though, that whatever they're doing and however they're doing it, they're doing it. Oh, but I don't believe you, Dave. Okay, then Bill Gates is a saint, and he's saving the population of the earth by all the vaccines he's giving out. Right? Wink, wink, nod, nod. What? You believe Bill Gates is like a saint and that he's doing, God's will on earth. And, well, so a couple billion people die in the process. Not a problem. But, wait a minute. So if you don't think Billy Gates and some of them folks hadn't put code in there and that they don't know how to do some of this stuff without our knowledge, you think they're what? No, they ain't telling us the truth. They ain't gonna. But are they doing it? Well, hell yeah. Come on, pay attention. So the phone thing, I've been warning folks for a long time. Put them down whenever you can. Use them. They're an appliance. But I don't carry my toaster oven around with me everywhere I go, but I use it when I need it. The blender. I got a blender, but I don't carry it to the store with me. I use it when I need it. So you say, well, a blender and a toaster oven, what's that got to do with the telephone? You use the appliance when you need it. But people have been, because of the brainwashing and everything, they are required to use it all the time. Well, the new 5G, I downloaded a movie in under 5 seconds. Wow, isn't this great? Now, I'm sorry. If I'm going to watch a movie, I do not want to watch it on an appliance that's this big. I don't want to do it. I'm sorry. I want to see the movie. Well, I watched this movie on my iPhone. Good for you. But look at all these. I can't see them. I'm going to watch a movie. It's going to be on the TV. It's going to be on the big screen. It's not going to be on a cell phone that's this big. Sorry. But that's the new paradigm. That's what everybody's into and believing in now. So it's like, and you don't think you're being mind controlled. Well, no. Then how you lay at bed at night and fall asleep with your phone in your hand. You forget about all the electrostatic and transmission stuff and all the 5G that's going around in your brain because it's sitting right next. You don't care about that. Don't care about the flashing lights or hidden noises or beeps or clicks or something. Don't know. What? No. You don't understand the fact that you've been talking about something in the house. The cell phone hears you. You go to order. You say, I want to order a pizza. And you turn your phone on and there's an ad for pizza. And you go, well, how'd that happen? Ain't that a coinky dink? No, it ain't. But people are just, it's a convenience. Okay. Where is it going to lead us from here on? I don't have a clue. But I know they want to control us. Use the appliance as you need it and shut it off. Turn it off, put it down or whatever. Is it all right? Should I quit taking drugs altogether? Well, no, I take, an antihistamine because of my sinuses. And now it's my own drug abuse that created my sinuses. But at the same point, though, I'm 68 and I have fallen off of buildings, off of trees. I've been hit by trucks and cars. I've been in severe accidents. I hurt. Okay. So I take a couple of ibuprofen every 6 hours. Now, if you say, well, quit taking that. Well, they could be putting shit in that too. So, but I regulate what I take and I keep an eye on what I intake. Do I take a couple of extra ibuprofen once in a while? Yeah, because sometimes it's necessary. And then sometimes I can go 8 or 10 hours without taking them. So I don't. But I used to sit around and go, well, it's been 6 hours. I got 12 pills to take. That's how I used to live. And now I go, well, my nose is running and my back hurts. Look at the clock and go, well, it's been 8 hours. Think it's time for my meds. Totally different point of view on how I use the medicines and the doctors and the system or whatever to what I consider my benefit, at least up to now, knock on wood. So anyway, my friends, and trying to keep it short, I've managed to go 2.5 hours. Barry says, is there any ritual we should observe now? You weren't here earlier, Barry, but today, November the 1st, and depending on the culture for the next 2 or 3 days, it's the Day of the Dead. In the Catholic Church, it is All Saints Day. And the ritual, if you want to, I would say it's more like a ceremony. The ritual is that, okay, every year it happens. So that's a ritual. But the ritual, the ceremony should be more of honoring the dead for today. And the Mexican people do it, and a lot of other traditions do it. And so this is in the Catholic Church, depending on which, it's All Saints Day. It's when we honor those who come before us. So is that a ritual? I would want to look at it more as it being a ceremony, a yearly ceremony. Well, you could say, but doesn't that mean ritual? I just don't like to use that word ritual, I guess. Is it a yearly ceremony? Yeah. Well, that's a ritual. Okay, I get it. But in the ritual, is there any, you burn a candle for the folks that have come before you, your grandparents, your mother, your father, whoever. And to the, if you are of that ilk, then you give honor to the saints. So you give honor to the elders, grandmother, grandfather, and there's nothing wrong with that. But does it have to be a ritual? So understand what I mean by that. I try to stay away from that word, because the ritual becomes, it is something that Wiccans, witches, Satanists, they do rituals. So does the Catholic Church. But in a shamanistic type of thing, it is a ceremony. Well, but you do it every full moon. Yeah, but it's still a ceremony. It's called a full moon ceremony. It's not called a full moon ritual on purpose. Even though you say, well, but so there are those who would say, but it sounds like a ritual to me, to you. But I had to change my tone of voice and choose my words more correctly and succinctly in that, nope, it may be full moon and I may do it every full moon, but it is a ceremony of the full moon, not a ritual. So, and to me, there is a distinct difference, but hey, what do I know? I'm just a crazy person that's, but so at this time, the ritual is whatever they were trying to use yesterday for. If we give honor and grace to our ancestors and put positive energy into that and try not to think about what they did yesterday, and let's get on with the day and pray that the saints, that grandparents, grandmother, grandfather will protect any of those who may be in danger. So the ceremony that we keep it positive is that our prayers, and because we're honoring our ancestors, that their spirits will look after those who may need it. So ritual, let's call it a ceremony. Travis, I get all my info off the company sites and government sites. It just takes a while, but it's there anyway. They can say it was open to the public. Yes, Three Warriors tried to brainwash me, but it didn't work. The lion has had enough. Yep. Saints like the Snowden, you mean, or them people who funded genocide on the Jewish people? Travis, I'm not thinking of any of that. In the Catholic Church, St. Thomas, St. Francis, you know, Joan of Arc, there are those leaders within the church that actually did good things. I'm trying to think of his name. Father Padre Pio. I had a book on him and did research on him years ago. And there was a lot of good things that Padre Pio did. Now, the church didn't want to make him a saint because he was out in the left field. But there were a lot of things that he did, and millions of people who would disagree with the Vatican and say, you should have made that guy a saint. And it had nothing to do with killing the Jewish people or genocide. But now here's the thing. There are those factions within the Catholic Church back during the World War II that made, I can't remember the Pope's name, but he sided with Hitler. So, but did all the Catholics around the world side with Hitler? No. So, it depends on what you know, but to those that I understand, quote, as saints within the Catholic religion, in that they were canonized, they did research, and there's certain criteria. Anyway, St. Peter, St. Paul, okay. So to the saints, we give honor. In the Native American tradition, it wouldn't be, quote, the saints. The saints are described as grandmother, grandfather, or for those who have come before us. In that, they have attained a high spiritualness to us, to make them saintly, if you were, just higher than the normal guy. They went above and beyond being spiritual. They were shamans in their way of thinking, and maybe in how they acted. And not that they claimed to be shamans, but they practiced those things, versus those Native Americans who said, hey, I want a new car and I'm going to go get a job. And they, they left the tribe and went to do white man's ways. And later on, a lot of those folks have come back and said, that I just wasn't happy doing that, but I had to give it a try. And some of the older people that I've met, Kashka, who was a legend keeper, he was a mathematician and worked for this, huge organization and did some government work and stuff. And then when he retired, he went back to being a Native American. And he said, I tried it. I had a living and I did these things, but I'm happy now. He said, I live on a small pension, but I'm happy. Nobody tells me what to do and I don't have to report in anywhere. And, there's a freedom in that. So, but anyway, so what you may call a saints, anyway, there are good ones, agreed, but I've seen a lot of bad things in my research dealing with the Catholic Church uppers. Absolutely agree, Travis. If you saw what I read earlier about the Archbishop, I agree with you 120%. Actually, beyond what you, because I've had inside information for a long time. So absolutely, and that's what that Archbishop was talking about. There are very bad people within the Catholic Church, and it's time folks knew about it. So anyway, my ramblings are starting to ramble, and I'm going around in circles, but I agree with you, Travis, and my inside information about the Catholic Church, people are just now starting to hear about. And I've been trying to talk about it for years. So am I a prophet? Nope, just a messenger. Yep, Travis, you missed that earlier on. It was about 30 minutes, 45 minutes in, something like that. Michelle, you're welcome. Um, my friend Marcia called, and she needed something to eat and some bread and eggs and so forth. And I wasn't going to go anywhere tonight. I was just was thinking about doing a fire outside, and then it started to misting rain anyway. So I'm like, well, but I'm open to do what I need to do. So I went into town and got a pizza, did a couple other things, got her a couple of dozen eggs and some bread and so forth. They're at the house for. Um, and I told her, I said, if nothing else, call me up. I can come over and make scrambled eggs at least. I make a pretty good omelet. She's vegetarian, so. But anyway, but with that said, though. My dedication is that if I can physically get there, or if I can mentally do this, if it's right for somebody, then I'm gonna do my best to try to get it done. And this messenger part, it's like, it's okay to disagree with me, just the only thing I would say is there are some people who misunderstand what I mean by that, like the saints thing. If growing up a Catholic, I know what it means by saints, and I know that everybody ain't a saint. I've been speaking poorly about the Pope for a while, and the fact that Francis, this Jesuit, stole one of the most prized saints, Saint Francis of Assisi, stole his name to use it as, look, I'm Saint Francis, when actually he's the Black Pope. He's a Jesuit, not even a Catholic. He's all these things, but he chose one of the most sacred of the saints, who was for children. And Saint Francis, they were going to burn him at the stake as a witch because he was using local potions and herbs and teas and stuff. And the Catholic Church, they literally wanted to burn him at the stake. And then they found out, well, yeah, but the people loved him. Well, then they found out that on certain days or churches, anyway, he would invite all the animals into the church. So he would bless the farm animals. And the church went nuts. They were like, no, you can't do this. And then after, the people were like, oh, Saint, Francis, he's a great guy and everything. Then the Vatican said, well, we're going to start an order. And Francis went to the Vatican. He traveled there and he said, no, you are not going to start an order in my name. I don't want it. No. But Brother Francis, we're the church. We see what's good. So he was against the Vatican the whole time. And they were first they tried to crucify him, burn him at the stake, and then they turned him into a saint and gave, then the Franciscan order was born. He didn't want that. He was vehemently against it. To me, he was a true saint. But in that, though, so this guy that's the Pope now, he takes to me, one of the most venerated, there's some proof about this guy and the things that he did, and what the church did against him. And he takes the Pope as his name, Of course, the Black Jesuit idiots that acting as the Pope now in Argentina was linked to child trafficking. And the Vatican snatched him out of Argentina because they were going to catch him and put him in the Vatican as the mayor of the Vatican and Rome, and made him the Pope. Pulled him out of a situation. He was under investigation. Him and one of a bishop or an archbishop down there. Oh yeah, big stink about it. They yanked him out of Argentina and put him in the Vatican. How about that for some lies? The graveyard ship. Hey, Aurora, how are you? Crazy night at work. Whoa, yep. I'm still up too. And it's like when I get done chit-chatting with y'all, because I got to, quit doing these. I got to try to quit doing these 3-hour videos. some folks say, and y'all are here, so you're to blame for my 3-hour videos because I'm having conversation with y'all. But see, that's what I consider important is the interaction. Other people, they just want the information and the hell with the interaction. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I got a video that I'm working on in here, and it's called the Cosmic Outline or Spiritual Outline or Outline for Spiritualism, because somebody made a comment that, I need to make an outline, before I start these videos. Well, I do have outlines in my head. They might not be written down, but I've got this, Now, sometimes I have to admit, and I've told you all, I didn't really want to do this video, but they're making me. And so with that said, there are times when my rambling is a little bit more rambling because I don't feel like I was prepared enough, but they kicked me in the shins enough to go, you go talk about this. You go. Okay. So anyway, kill the messenger. But anyway, Aurora, hi, blessings to you. Fired up. I'm fired up too. Yeah, me too. And I've always worked second and third shift. That's why I'm so comfortable at this time of the night or morning. But it's group therapy. There you go. And see, that's sort of my intent. Bring it up. Let's discuss it. I'm not saying that there are a lot of things that you can say, well, that's not true about the Vatican, or you don't know what listen, I do know what I'm talking about. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to, whatever. You're your own person, but I know what I know. And what's interesting though, is this Archbishop coming out and saying some of this stuff. And I'm like, hallelujah, brother. Thank you. Many of us have been vindicated that have been talking about this. So, Michelle, I love your 3-hour plus videos. My friend asked me, don't these people have anything better to do than to hang out with you for 3 or 4 hours? And I'm like, you got to ask them that question. I'm like, but they hang out with me. So apparently they do. And not everybody can listen to 3.5 hours of you talking. I get it. Thank you very much. And, and I'm not offended in any way about it. But, to say that, well, I don't see what anybody else gets. Well, then you're you and they're them. And Michelle is like, you're like, well, I love your 3.5 hour videos. So my friend would go, what's wrong with her? What the hell's wrong with you, Michelle? You got to hang out with me for 3.5 hours. You ain't got nothing better to do, But to the point, though, I take very much what you all bring to this, and the fact that my job is to stir up your thoughts and to go, well, some bitch, I hadn't thought about it that way. And sometimes in my rambling, there's somebody out there that sort of understands, but I got to explain it one more way, which sounds like I'm repeating myself, but with a slightly different tone, because somebody out there needs it explained that way. And I don't understand it. I get this message like, okay, you gotta explain it like this. Lucy, you got some explaining to do. So in that, they're like, but Lucy's out there and she don't understand what you're explaining, So you got to rephrase it for that person. And sometimes, and I've gotten some really wonderful comments in that, man, I got it. That there's that one little thing. I got whatever that little thing is. I got it. So it's like, you make time for Nully. I haven't had anybody call me Nully in a long time. That's great. A group of like-minded individuals is a powerful thing. And Travis, I absolutely believe that. We are the league of like-minded beings, and the fact that we just understand that we are, there's no joining. We already, once you get it, you're already a member, So anyway, and Aurora, the only people I hang with are on you. Yeah, Michelle, you're absolutely right. And there are times when I don't understand why they want me to go through this shit over again. Because I know there are times you see me look up going like, oh, okay, I got to go over this again. Um, I know you spend time, you choose to spend time here. So thank you. And I do appreciate it. And I'm humbled by it. I mean, there are times when, I do 3 or 4 hours. I'm exhausted when I get done, and I will sit here and literally weep. Tears will run down my face because I understand that you all are being genuine and you understand that I am trying to be, well, I am being genuine, but in my explanation, I'm trying to be genuine, that it will, the message will reach everybody that needs to hear it. The recipient, as you said. Team no sleep. Aurora, that's great. Team no sleep. Yeah. I to go to help my friend out. I like took extra coffee and I'm drinking a kickstart, and I'm gearing up because I want to make it to town and do this round and everything because I still have a narcolepsy kind of issue where I will just get so tired that I got to, if I'm driving, I have to pull over and go and sleep on the side of the road. And there are days when I don't even wake up, but maybe 2 hours for the whole day. I wake up, look around, go, oh, get something to drink, go pee, use the toilet, grab a munchie out of the fridge, or something. And there are days when I will wake up and go, did I eat yesterday? How much have I eaten today? Because I have been so knocked out, not by drugs, but so knocked out by my brain issues that I don't know. So I'm like, did I take my meds? So I always try to look at the clock and say it's 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So I took my meds at 9 o'clock, and 6 hours later is three. So I go 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So I know when I took the meds and when I'm supposed, 6 hours is up, right? And sometimes that don't work. And I've tried writing things down, then I lose the note, and then I look down and go, I wrote something down on this piece of paper. I don't know what the hell it means. Whatever I wrote down at that time, my brain was half of my brain was someplace else. So I look at it and go, don't know what it means. There's a note. I left it for myself. It says, Dave. I put it, Dave, pay attention to what? I'm looking at the note going, I don't know. Love coffee. Yeah. I sleep during the day to be up with y'all at night. And I don't have a particular sleep time. That's my issue. But I used to work second and third shift almost my whole life. So this is my normal time of day. I mean, it's been 4 o'clock in the morning when I went outside and mixed concrete. And I was thinking I bought some concrete when I went into town today because some of the other bags that I bought got wet and are no good. So now I got a bunch of rocks. Anyway, I really want to finish my porch. And so I went to go work on my porch and thinking, well, I feel strong enough to mix some cement. Went to find out that nope, the rain that had come about a week ago had soaked through. I got it covered with tarps, but it soaked through the tarps and hardened the concrete. So now I have these 90-pound bricks of cement. But anyway, but I am going to leave you. I do have a butt cramp and I do have a bathroom break. But I do want to tell you all, I love you. I do. Thank you so much for who you are. And the fact that you hang out with me and you want to hang out with the other folks, that just shows a camaraderie, even though we can't link arms physically, we're linking arms spiritually. And I just think it's a great thing. And I'm glad and proud to be the moderator here with all you crazy people out there. So you got to be crazy to listen to me. So I think you're wonderful. The hell with everybody else, right? Ween. Yeah, we don't put the happy in there. But anyway, I'm understanding certain things on a level. Halloween used to be like my favorite of all years because they used to do puppet shows, and had this old mule barn that we did up with all kinds of it. What you folks would love it. It was great. Special effects was smoke. I mean, oh my God, Team Ween. I love it, Michelle. Team Caffeine Ween. Ween the caffeine or cap. Never mind. Yeah. But anyway, so Halloween used to be like one of my most favorite. And there was a place not far from here out in the country. And, it was truly an old mule barn. And we hung sheets up, black sheets up inside it and painted them with day glow, and then had some really serious, like 6 foot long black lights. And so when you turned on the lights inside that barn, and it looked like you were looking at the Milky Way. We painted in, comets going across and galaxies, and we painted all these things. A little stone, by the way, but at the time. But so people would come and we'd say, "Come in the barn. Let's just shut the door, shut the curtains and flip on the black light." And everybody would go, "Oh my God, that is so cool." And the puppets were painted in such a way, and we had black lights and special effects done the old way, none of the CGI stuff. We had rockets that would fly across over the top of the audience, and it was a pen light with frilly stuff on the back, and it was pulled by a counterweight way up in the top of the barn. So it was so cool. But I don't know, about 10 years we did Halloween up, and people would come in. I mean, in the pouring rain, down this dirt road. It was really nasty, but they would come with wagon loads of people, and they would come out to Halloween, and there was nothing evil about it. It was all in fun. And the puppet shows that I came up with, marionettes, I had built a marionette stage in there to my specifications. And we had all kinds of specials, and we had, smoke, and it was just so cool. And I miss those days. But as far as Halloween is concerned, how other people do it, or, I had to realize that, wait a minute, I thought Halloween was more like Christmas to me, in that we were giving out candy, doing these things, and blah, blah, blah. And we couldn't get anybody to come for Christmas, but they would come for Halloween. But it was all in, I guess you would say, in that spooky fun, But there again, you could say, well, spooky, well, you're talking about vampires and things, and yeah, okay. Well, then you're talking about this, and yeah, okay. And you're trying to promote that, yeah, okay, all right. So maybe doing the Halloween thing isn't the best thing, but it used to be. It used to be one of my favorite times. So anyway, and it was super cool, Michelle. I think y'all would have just loved it. Everybody that ever went out to the barn, as we called it. I'm going to tell you a story about the barn and Tramp the dog. Okay. So anyway, everybody that ever went there just found it cool. Great memories. Yeah, here's one. Then I'm going to close up this session. It's almost 3 hours, but at the end of this, you'll get a kick out of it. So my friend Serge and I, who recently passed away a couple of months ago, would work on it, and it was an old plantation. So there were several pieces of barn lined up in a row. One was a mule barn. This had old tractor parts. This one was it. So there was all the, one was a corn crib, anyway. So in each one of these barns, we had a little different setup. There was a ghost, there was this, anyway. So Serge and I were getting ready, for Halloween, and he had this dog, Tramp. And when Serge had to move away, Tramp came to live with me until he passed. He was over 20 years old. Anyway, so we'd get together, and he'd walk into the barn, or I'd leave the barn, and I'd go down to one of the, whatever he was setting up, lights, things, whatever. And I'd say, hey, let's smoke a bowl, right? Yeah, okay, let's take a break, smoke a bowl. So Tramp had this thing that he acquired over the years of being around us. We'd give him a shotgun, or, we'd take a puff and then we'd blow it in his face. Well, he would come up to us with this little paw and scratch on your leg, and he'd come up and you'd be working and he would sit there and he'd look so nice and pretty. And he would just scratch, 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 scratch. And what do you want, Tramp? And he would grin. He would grin and he'd scratch, scratch and kind of give you that look like, come on, smoke a bowl with me. So this particular night, I'm in the barn and I'm setting up the lights and everything and getting the puppets and everything set up. And I'm sitting on the stage and I'm screwing in lights over my head. The puppet stage, was just about as the opening was just about as tall as me sitting down on the stage in the top of my head. So, this much. Anyway, so he comes up, scratch, scratch, scratch. And I got my little Woody with me and I got a little bud in there and I'd take a hit or two, and I'd keep on working, So it was just sitting there on the stage, right? So he looked at it and was sniffing at it and he scratched my leg. Oh, okay. So I said, all right, I haven't had a hit in an hour or so. So I just light the bowl, right? And I'm taking a hit. And he's looking at me. So I blow it in his face, and I take another hit and blow it in his face. And I said, okay, Tramp, that's enough. I got to get back to work. So he hauls ass out the back of the barn there. So I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes goes by. He's back, right? Scratch, scratch, scratch. And I'm going, well, it's been 30 minutes. Okay, I'll take another hit off this bowl, And I sit down on the stage, and he's sitting there next to me, and saddling up to my face, and being right there, smelling all that good weed, And so I give him a sort of a shotgun, and he's happy, and off he goes. Well, 30 minutes later, Serge walks in, right? And he's got his regular pipe, and he's smoking tobacco. And he comes in and goes up, hey, you want to smoke a bowl? We have, because we'd been separated, hadn't done anything in a while. So I said, sure, let's smoke a bowl. We'll sit down. So I go, Tramp's been in here at least 2 or 3 times tonight, scratching on my leg. And he goes, what? Now, we knew that he did this, Tramp did, the dog. And he goes, he'd been bugging me. And I said, what? He goes, yeah. He said, so you mean he's been coming down here to the barn and scratching your leg? Yeah. And I say, well, then he goes out. He goes, well, he's been coming down to me and scratching on my leg. So we wonder where that damn dog is. We look in the back of the barn, and there's this old couch. Tramp is laid out on his back, splayed out like he was stone past. We tried to call him. He was just like, la, 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 la. So all night long, he'd been playing the two of us. He'd go visit Serge, scratch, scratch, scratch. Come visit me, scratch, scratch, scratch. And then after a couple hours, he was so stoned, he was just out. I mean, and it was hard for this dog to go out because he would pop it at any kind of sound. He was out. He was out. And so if you knew the dog, you'd go, you're kidding. So here's the thing. And it was along that it was a couple of days right around that same time that he'd done this trick to me and Serge, right? Now, we look back on it and come to find out, we thought back on it, he'd been doing this for a while to us. But anyway, so Serge worked with some really nasty water. He was a scientist and he worked with really nasty water and cleaning it up. That was his job. So we're out there. It's early evening, 4 or 5 o'clock kind of thing. And he's expecting UPS or whatever to bring him these samples that he's got to run in his lab to clean up, right? So this guy, he's driving around there. He pulls up in this truck and he gets out. And so Tramp barks a couple of times and Serge, okay, calm down. So Tramp goes over towards the truck. And the guy gets these big 5-gallon buckets out, that's got, hazardous material, caution, use gloves, all this stuff, right? And he's standing beside the truck, and Tramp goes up to him and he scratches on his leg. And the guy looks down and he's talking to Serge and I, and we're gonna put these buckets in the thing, and Tramp is sitting, doesn't know this guy, never seen him before. He's sitting right in front of him, nice and polite with his head up and everything, scratching on the guy's leg, just scratch, scratch, and sit there and wait, scratch, scratch, and the guy looks down and he goes, "I don't know what you want, dog, but I ain't got any." And Tramp looked over at me and Serge, and then back to the guy and went, "Scratch, scratch." And Serge looked at him and he said, "You're busted." And the guy went, "What?" He got all paranoid. He says, "My dog just busted you." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You've been smoking weed, haven't you?" "What?" What? He goes, "Well, calm down. I ain't going to tell you, but my dog knows." And he was like, "How?" And Serge and I looked at each other. We laughed because this dog had just played this trick on us the night before. It was 2 nights before. It was just before Halloween, right? So this guy that pulled up had smoked a doobie out in the country to deliver these things, right? It's the end of his shift. We're his last delivery. And the dog busted him right there on the spot. And the Serge looked at him and said, "We're not going to tell anybody because the dog does it to us too." And he was like, "Oh, I did just smoke this roach." He was like, "Don't care, but the dog just busted you. Just wanted you to know." So yeah, that was funny as hell. I mean, I was standing trying so hard not to break out laughing, and Serge saw what he was doing, but I was just like snickering. I was like, I ain't gonna look at, and old Trent just kept scratching his knee, like, "Come on, I know you got it. I know you got it. I can smell it." "No, I don't. No, I don't." Yeah, he did. But anyway, so yeah, such is life. And see, with the small things in life, after all these years, I can still think about those memories that we had, even though the ending of our friendship wasn't so good. There are those good things about those memories, and about Tramp the dog and the this and the that. Still good memories. So regardless of money, regardless of this, what has actually been most beneficial, it's not how much money I've made. It's the friends I've made with animals and people and situations that were heartwarming and gratifying, and you give you a good smile after all these years. And it's a true story. I don't have to make this shit up. It really happened to me. So, but anyway, I love you all. Thank you so much, Michelle and Travis. Oh, Gee Ant, Giant. Oh, I did. So high. Yeah, he wasn't a narc dog. He was a hippie dog. Yeah, you Holden, bro. He busted that poor guy. I don't know. It was one. I don't. It was one of those delivery agents anyway. But yeah, that dog was so high. My dog had cancer and loved to get high. She lived like 4 years longer than expected. Yeah, Travis, I'm barking at the corner of the room for days. Yes. I had a dog when I first moved up here to South Georgia from Tampa. Uh, we were, I've sort of spoke about this before, but the house we lived in, um, if you went outside and put your hand on the fence, you could touch the house. That's how close the cows were to the house. And which meant cows, cow poo, cow field, mushrooms. So, oh man, the pounds of mushrooms we got out of that place. I used to trade the mushrooms for weed, way back in the 70s. So we had this dog, Kramer. For whatever reason, I named this dog Kramer. Well, he would go with me out in the field, and it was a big pasture, maybe eight, 10 acre field, pasture with trees all around. Anyway, and I'd take my 7-iron out there with a couple of golf balls, and I'd chunk them around while I was looking for mushrooms. And if anybody said, "What are you doing? What's that hippie out there doing in the field?" He's playing golf. I was looking for mushrooms, and playing golf. Anyway, so the dog caught on to what I was doing. So then that little bastard, he would run ahead of me because I kind of sort of followed a pattern. And I knew if it had rained or not. And I kept up with, well, if I pluck this mushroom, it's going to be a couple days before another mushroom comes off this pile of poo. So, but anyway, the dog would run ahead of me and eat the mushrooms before I got there. So one full noon night, he had got ahead of me to the point where I was like, I was ready to beat the dog. I mean, I was going to beat the dog. And I was like, no, you can't. You're eating all the mushrooms. Well, that full moon night out there in the middle of this big pasture, bright, clear, beautiful. And this dog is leaping 6 feet in the air, straight up. And he would jump up. And when he reached the top of his of his jump, he'd go, oh, and then land on the ground. And it seemed like he just sort of hung there and then would come back down. And he did. I was sitting there looking out the window, laughing, and they were like, what's that crazy dog doing? And it's like, he got too many shrooms. I don't know what he's seeing. I don't know what he's barking at. But he was this little old, not real tall dog. He was shorter than what Duggar is, but leaped straight up into the air. And I mean like 6 foot. And then come back down. And it was sort of like, I can't remember the name of the dog. It was like, give him a treat and he'd go, and float up into the air. And then he would come back down. Not Snagglepuss. Anyway, but cartoon back in the day. Around the time of Snagglepuss and Quick's Draw McGraw and all that. But anyway, but funny. And people say, you fed that, nope. I had to chase the dog down to get the mushrooms out of his mouth. No, I didn't give him to him. He did it on his own. But then I had to watch him because then he was going out there and getting the mushrooms when we weren't looking, and he kind of went a little nutty. He just never was the same after that. But Hoverhound. Yep. This dog is hilarious. He was back in the day, Kramer. Yep. And I think it was some book or something that Kronsky versus McSmash. And there was a Detective Kramer in this book. It was a really crazy book. Funny as hell. But anyway, you wanted a tight narc dog. Yeah. And here's the thing about that crazy Kramer. He knew the good mushrooms versus the skull caps and wouldn't eat them. So whether he learned it personally by watching me pick them, but I never picked any of the others. So whether he learned it by smell on his own or whatever, but I never saw him eat the wrong kind. And they would grow side by side on a cow patty, right? Or nearby. He never picked the wrong ones. He always picked the right ones. Damn it. Give me my mushrooms. Anyway, I love you. Thank you so much. And now I really got to pee. So yeah, if I hope that I have painted a decent enough picture. But I closed my eyes and see this dog making this leap. And he was sort of a tan-ish dog, not white, not brown, but tan, sort of like a golden retriever in a way. But a lot shorter. But the fact that he just boing, woo, come back down. It was hilarious. It was great. G-Ant, good night to you. Amanda, hi, how are you? Good night. Michelle, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Hope you get, we have, now it's been 3 hours, Michelle. It's all your fault. But the hour that you gained, you just spent it with me. So, and I love you for it. So have a good morning. Have a good night. Have a good tomorrow. And for down here in the South Georgia, it's supposed to get into the 40s tomorrow night. Ooh, that'll be nice. Time to, I've been hiding as usual. We love you anyway. We love you despite the hiding factor. I'm kidding. You know I am. But I got to go out tomorrow and I got wood cut from last year, but ants have moved into the pile, so I got to go spray for ants to get that. But yeah, thank you, Three Warriors. It's great. Travis, the Brick, thank you. GN Maverick, oh, hanging out in the background. So after 3 hours and 14 minutes, somebody will complain I've rambled too long, but I've done it because you all wanted me to. It's all your fault, Michelle. I'm going to blame it all on you, Michelle. I know your shoulders are big and you can take it. But anyway, thank you, Maverick. Michelle, if I missed anybody, the love's still there. Later comer to the party, Maverick. Yeah, I know. It's your fault. Whoa. Yep. All of you take care as well. Thank you, Three Warriors. So I will always close with a prayer. At least I hope so. I do continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you, your friends and your family, and all of your relatives will learn to accept and receive and to share the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives and your acquaintances, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive and share the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And in that cosmic round of three, I continue to pray that each and every one of you and all that you come in contact with will learn to accept and receive and to continue to share the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And that my prayer also continues that you will continue to recognize the chaos and stay out of it as much as possible. We're all in this together, brothers and sisters. And so thank you for sharing your time with me. I appreciate everything that you do. Keep up the good work. And until next time, and they're coming up shortly, it's going to be something about, it's going to have outline, spiritual outline or something like that. But that's going to be the general topic. So blessings, stay safe. And I know we got to keep an eye on them crazy people, but we don't have to overdo it. Just remember that. And David Castle had a really good point about it earlier. So thank you for your prayers and keep sharing. Okay. Stay well. And as we say down here in South Georgia, TTFN. Michelle, you beat me to it. TTFN, keep it between the ditches. And until next time, we love you.